Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise out there as we welcome to the stage Carissa Kuches.
Hello, everybody. How you feeling out there? Oh, my goodness. Hello and welcome, welcome, welcome. We've got Facebook. We've got YouTube, Leadership Mastery, our Zoom friends. Shake out that body. Come on. Hello, hello. Karina Guaneros, Cosmeo Rivara, Kaylee Chu, our friends on Facebook and YouTube. We can see your chat. Say hello. Where are you tuning in from in the world? What country? What time of day is it? Welcome, welcome, welcome. That's it. We've got Boston. We've got France. Los Angeles, California. Come on, everybody. Crank that energy a little bit. Get up out of your seats if you're able to. Come on. Welcome, welcome. Whoa, yes. Hello, everyone from around the world. I first just want to say congratulations for being here. Congratulations for being here at this special celebration. You're about to train alongside Tony Robbins, Sage Robbins, and the award-winning filmmaker and documentarian Joe Berlinger. Let's give it up for every single person tuning in today. That's it. Come on. Woo! Get a little crazy. If you're on YouTube watching, you better stand up. Come on. Today we are celebrating something so massive, so inspirational, so incredible. It is the 5-year anniversary of the documentary film created by Joe Berlinger that you are all here today. You can see it on the back wall nice and big. Today we are celebrating the release of I Am Not Your Guru, ladies and gentlemen. What are you bringing? Whoa, yes. All right, my name is Carissa Kuches. I will be your MC today, kind of like your guide, supporting you and having an incredible experience. And you guys, millions of people have been impacted by not only this film, you know, I'm one of them impacted by the documentary. And today, Tony and Sage want to take you behind the scenes of not just the film, but also the event that was the inspiration for this film. And if you know what the event is called, go ahead and throw it in the chat box, whether you're Facebook, YouTube, Zoom, if you're our Leadership Mastery friends. Do you know what event I'm talking about? My friends, it is Date with Destiny! Date with Destiny. Whoa, yes. So I want to acknowledge that we have people here from all over the world. And some of you may have been to a Date with Destiny multiple times. Maybe you've been to Tony Robbins events multiple times, maybe one or two. Maybe you've been to none. Perhaps you know Tony Robbins because you saw this film on Netflix. Where are you at? If you're here today because you saw the documentary, you know, and some of you, maybe someone invited you today and you have no idea what is going on. Regardless, okay? Welcome. You are in the right place and you've all done one thing. We might not know each other yet, but you've invested your most precious asset, which is your time to be here. So I know one thing about you. Somewhere inside of you, you know you got another level, more love, more passion, more play, more excitement. Who here knows that that's available to them? Yes? Make some noise. Awesome. Well, hopefully you guys have had a chance to watch the documentary before today. And if you have not, that's completely okay. Today, you're going to meet some people whose lives have been forever changed by Date with Destiny. And you never know, today, this moment right now might spark a transformation inside of you that maybe you've been searching for. Are you ready? Come on, this is not good enough for Mr. Tony Robbins, Sage Robbins. I need a little more energy from you. I said, are you ready? Are you ready? That's it. That's it. Whoa, yes. So I'm going to give you a few quick tips to train with Tony. There are some of you that it's your first time here training with him. A lot of you have also been in our family for quite a while, but a few reminders for you. Number one, today, be an active participant, okay? You want to play full out. What does that mean, play full out? Take notes like crazy. Be completely locked in. Life's been nuts the last couple years. Can you dedicate a couple hours today to focus on yourself, to focus on learning, exploring? Can you do that? Yes or yes? Also, notice that we have this fancy virtual studio that Tony created, and we've got your chat boxes on the side flanking the stage. So actually what's super cool is that that's how Tony's going to be communicating with you, especially if you're live streaming on YouTube or Facebook. You can actually answer his questions in real time. In fact, that chat box should never stop moving. So lift your hands up like this. Give me a quick wave. Lay them on the keyboard. And leave him there the whole time, okay? You want to interact with him. You want to be chatting back and forth with him. When Tony asks you a question, shout the answer back out as if you're live inside of this room, because that's what this is. It's all about energy. And that's probably my biggest tip for you guys today. Before Tony does anything, he gets himself into something he calls a peak state. He'll probably chat with you guys about that today. The only tip I'm going to give you is that starts with your physical body. So if today you're watching, you got Tony, you got Sage, you got Joe, and if you're laying down in your seat like this, you know what I mean? Information going in one ear and out the what? Other. People pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to train with Tony. He's one of the busiest men in the world, and you get a couple hours with him today. So you got to show up with energy in your body. Really quick, lift those shoulders up, lift that head back, and coach yourself today to not let this drop to whatever status quo is for you. We've got to lift that energy higher. And last but not least, the most important tip that I will say today, and I want you to lean all the way into the camera so you hear this one, stay all the way until the end. You guys, to miss a minute today is to miss way too much. Plus, we're giving away some mind-blowing prizes at the end of today. If you remember what the prizes are, throw them in the chat. Some of you is going to win a membership into Tony Robbins' private community called the Inner Circle. Someone here is going to win a trip. I asked if I could win. I couldn't. To Fiji! I know. And then somebody here is going to win a ticket to the event that this film was inspired by, which is Date with Destiny Virtual, coming up, 42 days, come on. Whoa, yes. So to set the tone, you guys, Tony's been changing lives around the globe the last 4.5 decades. For context, I wasn't even born yet, okay? He's been doing this a long time. 80 million people, 100 different nations. And event-wise, there's hands down no other event that is as iconic as Date with Destiny, period. It is so transformational that someone was like, I want to make a documentary about it. So if you're here today and you haven't seen the documentary, don't worry. We're going to set the tone today by taking you guys inside of a Date with Destiny experience so you really know what it's all about. People pay thousands of dollars to go. When I went, just a little under $8,000 I paid. And I want you to experience the gravitas of what this event is, the magic of what this event is. So sit up in your seats with lots of energy. And when you watch this, you guys pretend like you are there. Don't just watch, experience it. Check this out.
What would happen if you knew you were not only more than enough, but that everything in your life has been guided? What if everything in life, every single moment, the pain and the problems, the opportunities, the love, the joy, what if all of it was divine timing? Time for the journey to begin.
Date with Destiny is a life-changing experience. It's a total immersion, completely exhausting and pushing you physically, emotionally. But because of that, you grow so much, so fast, that you literally don't recognize the person you were the first day to the last day.
Problems are what make us grow. Problems are what sculpt our soul. Problems are what make us become more. If we can realize that life is always happening for us, not to us, game over. All the pain and suffering disappears.
This week is without a doubt the most amazing experience of my life because I'm shaping my future.
I know for me, most of it really came from wanting to have more passion, wanting to have more desire. So what better than Date with Destiny? Because we know that our destiny is so much greater than what we're seeing. So it was really a chance for us to really dive in and really get down to the core of what it is.
It's the most transformative experience you will ever engage yourself in.
Beyond your wildest expectation.
And I remember looking in the mirror this morning and really liking the woman I saw in the mirror for the first time in a really long time. It was awesome.
This is why we came together. To both see, witness, feel, experience, and more importantly, lead by example within ourselves, where love is all that matters. Love is the ultimate filter. Love is the guide to a decision where destiny is magnificent.
So, are you ready for today then? Are you ready for today then? Ladies and gentlemen, Date with Destiny, you feel it, you've seen it. And I've got a question, what if I just gave away a ticket right now? What do you guys think? Are you feeling lucky? Do you really want it? Somebody here is going home with a ticket to Date with Destiny virtual happening in 42 days. Do you want to know who the winner is? The first winner hosted a watch party with her friends, went all out. She completed the quiz. And ladies and gentlemen, she's all the way from the UK. Please give it up for Jana Sarek. You're going to UPW. You're going to Date with Destiny, Jana. Do one more? If you don't want to, it's okay. We don't have to. Okay. We don't have to. Do you want to do another winner for Date with Destiny? In 42 days, the second winner is from the East Coast, New Jersey in the U.S. Held a watch party, completed the quiz. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Kevin Sembrat. You're going to Date with Destiny virtual, Kevin. We still have so many more prizes to give away at the end of today, including a trip to Fiji. So do not log off early. If there is one thing that you must know about a Tony Robbins event is that you do not want to miss a minute. Are you ready to begin this incredible celebration? You can't just be sort of ready. Are you all in? Are you 100% ready? Then it is time. I think we have a couple guests that we want to bring to the stage, but it's almost near impossible to bring them up here if the energy is not all the way at a level 10. You better get up out of your seats and show me what you got. It's time to take control of our lives. Be the creators of our lives. Please help me welcome to the virtual stage, Tony and Stage Robbins.
How y'all doing out there? How you doing, Bob? Wendy Day, are you ready for this? Bruce Hubble. Hi there, Sandra Saunders. And Sandra Scrofella. How you doing, Isabella Peterson? Kelly Redneck, we see your sign. Thank you, Gretchen Janzel. Hi, Jamie Thiel. Erica Ackerman. Your gentleman just showed up. How you doing, Sarah McMahon? Francesca, you're doing it in the car. I like it. Harvey Miguel, you and your lady. Nice to see you guys.
Natasha Mitch, good to see you. Hi.
Receptor Gallagher. Sharon Steets. P.T. Dixon.
Jesse Holder.
Pedro Vieira, nice to see you. Great energy, everybody.
Jack D.
Yes. Have a seat, feeling great. Well, thank you for inviting us into your homes. This is really wonderful to be with all of you for this beautiful celebration. It's been 5 years since we had the privilege of having people look inside Date with Destiny. And it was an incredible experience. And so we decided it would be beautiful to kind of give you an update and give you an exposure and answer some questions and just kind of celebrate the date half a decade later. The event was actually December of 2014, but it takes a year to put things together, and then it has to be sold to a studio. Netflix bought it, and we had to go through all the different shows that you put it on and so forth, and won some nice awards. It was just really a beautiful period, but we thought it would be nice to share some questions and answers, have you meet the man who created it, give you some behind the scenes on that, and then maybe give you an update on some of these people 5 years after the film, but 7 years later. But before we do, we offered you this, obviously, as our gift to you. It's tough times out there, let's be honest, right? The COVID has been going on now for almost 2 years. The experience for most people has been pretty difficult, to say the least. People have lost their lives. People have lost their livelihood. There are more people depressed now than any time in history, at least in decades, in most countries in the world. And so there's really a need out there for hope. And we had to adapt what we were doing as well. Everything was shut down. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. And we built this studio as a way to create that. We wanted to make sure we could reach people, even though we couldn't have more than 10 people be together in a live environment. We're used to 15,000. So it was a little different. But for some of you, I know we do this normally when it's a live event on Zoom, so we get to see all of you. I know many of you are joining us, as we can see here on YouTube, and many of you also on Instagram and other services here. We're seeing your feedback as it's going on. Thank you. But we wanted, for those who decided to join us on Zoom, we asked them to invest $47. It's free for everybody, but if they wanted to have kind of a VIP experience. And we have first of all, we have over 100,000 people registered here. I think it's 100,359. It's amazing. But we also had a percentage aside to join us on Zoom, and out of that, for those $47, 100% of it is going to Feeding America. We're not keeping any of it. And so we have 1.8 million meals, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for everybody who's been here. It's pretty amazing. And I'm going to match that. So it's going to be a total of 3.6 million meals provided out this day alone for everybody. Feeding America. So first of all, thank you that you'll join us that way, and for your investment in people that are really needing our help. These are the people that are really suffering right now, people without food. We've had 8 million people in the last 2 months alone that have quit their jobs or have been fired because they didn't match some of the mandates in some of these countries. I'm just talking about the U.S. alone. So it's pretty intense times. Now, we have people in this room from 158 countries, so everybody's here. And let's get started. I'd like to first start, well, before I start, I'm doing all the talking. I'm used to doing all the thing myself. My beautiful bride, my Sage Robbins, everybody, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. It's beautiful. I see seeing many of you from my home country, Canada. I'm just seeing your faces. Yes, blessings to you. And it's just, we've never done a format like this. And it's this particular event and actual, when we filmed I'm Not Your Guru, is just so dear to us. And we have the privilege to partner with Joe Berlinger. Joe, we're looking forward to you joining us today. And it's just a real treat. This is like a fireside chat. We've never had this setting. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for your willingness. Thank you for your heart and love. I can't remember how many countries, 158?
158 countries.
158. We're really deeply touched. So thank you. We look forward to just serving you.
Well, we really didn't want to, I didn't want to make this documentary before I introduced this gentleman, who's just an extraordinary human being. And my wife didn't really want to make it either because it's such a private environment, Date with Destiny. We're used to doing big stadiums of people. And then, Date with Destiny, we keep to just 5,000 people, which may not sound big to you, but compared to 15,000, it's quite intimate. And the idea that we're going to bring cameras in there was like, I don't know about this. And Sage was not really for it either. In fact, I remember this man, Joe Berlinger, you're about to meet, I invited him to come to a seminar originally. I met him. I just felt struck by what an incredible human being is. I had seen one of his documentaries, which was the one on Metallica. And believe it or not, it gave you insight. It was like a psychological film. And it was all just real and real time. It was just gorgeous. It was raw. It was real. You got to see these men as human beings. You got to see their upsides or downsides. And I was just touched by it. So when I met him in person, this is a guy that has made films that has saved people's lives. He made a series of films, documentaries, about people that were locked up in jail for murder and they were innocent. And he actually, after more than a decade, got them out. And I thought, a man of this caliber, when I met him, to be honest, I didn't feel like he was as happy as I wanted him to be for his life because he's such a good soul. So we made this connection, and I invited him to Date with Destiny as my guest. And he hesitated a little bit, but I'll let him tell you the story. But I'm grateful for him because if it wasn't him, my wife never would agree to it, nor I. It still took 2 years of him chasing us afterwards, but I'll let him share with you. The man I'm about to share with you, he is the producer of this film. He's a director, writer. He's an award-winning filmmaker. He has Academy Award nominee. He's 3-time Emmy Award winner. He's had 8 nominations. He's got a Peabody winner. He's got 3 Critics' Choice Award winning times. He's got 3 times Director of the Guild Award winners. He's 8 films that premiered at the Sundance. And as I said, he's saved lives. He's a beautiful soul. Please welcome Joe Berlinger, please. Oh, let him hear you. It's Joe. Yes. Joe, great to see you.
Well, great to see you guys. I wish we were in person together.
Me too.
But it's really such an honor. Boy, I wish all my films had this kind of resonance and celebration and love from its subjects 5 years later. This is great.
Well, we both certainly heard some great things over the years from people that have watched the film. Tell the story to everybody about how this came about, because most people have no clue.
You were kind of hinting at it. We met socially, and I think you kind of saw something, that I wasn't happy. You were hinting at it, and you invited me to come. I didn't even know you did these events. So you invited me to come. You invited me to come to this event, which at the time was in Palm Springs, California. And I'm a workaholic. I never take a vacation. As you know, I'm a bit of a workaholic.
Yes, you are.
I don't take vacations. At the time, I considered myself this tough New York skeptical journalist. I still am. The idea of self-help, which is at the time what I thought. I know you don't like that word, but at the time, to me, I just lumped it into self-help and seminar, and I'm a very private person. The whole idea of sharing my feelings with other people, to me, it was like, why? I don't know why I'm accepting this invitation, but you were so kind to offer it to me that I just went. And while I'm getting on the airplane at JFK and flying to LA and renting my car and driving into the desert, I'm thinking to myself, why am I going to this thing? And then I get there. And I'm given the VIP treatment, which I wasn't expecting. So Sarah Fosma with her clipboard sat me in a very front row seat. And I'm very visible, and I'm thinking, oh, I guess I really have to do this. And and then the first 2 hours happened, and honestly, I was like, this is not for me. The dancing, the sharing of feelings, I was like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? And you hadn't even hit the stage yet. And so at the first break, I ran to the exits, called my wife, Lauren, who's, by the way, in the audience and sends her love.
Hey, Lauren, nice to see you. I hear you.
And so I called my wife and I said, oh my God, I don't know if I can spend another 20 minutes during this, let alone 6 days. What do I do? And my wife said, give it, you took the time out, give it a chance. And then quickly, all of a sudden I realized, because we went through that one exercise you do, which you see in the film, where you take you back to your earliest childhood memory.
Yeah.
And I won't explain the whole thing, but basically, by remembering something that's been repressed about that memory, it's a key to healing. And in front of 2,500 people, I closed my eyes and I decided to participate. And when I opened my eyes, I was flooded in tears. And I'm a guy who hasn't cried at that point in a really long time. And I just felt lighter in the moment. And I thought, oh my God, if this could make me feel this way even for a minute, I should give it its due. And I realized at that moment that I was being, because of my insecurity at the time, I was being very judgmental about the event and putting up a wall. And at that moment I said, you know what, I am going to play full out, a term I learned that day. And I ended up having the most incredible life transformational experience. And I wasn't there to sell you a film. We met socially. You were kind enough to invite me. And by the end of it, I was so blown away and had such a transformational experience, because I was, not to bore people to death, but I was going through a very difficult time at that moment. And you keyed in on that and gave me this invitation. And that's what pulled me to go. I did, it's not something I would normally do, but it literally, and I'm so glad I did, because it literally transformed my life as a human being. And then watching the event, I just felt it was highly cinematic. And because it had such a deep impact on me when I wasn't planning on, entering this kind of a thing, and because it was so cinematic, as you hinted, I chased you guys for 2 years because I just thought it would be an amazing film. And I decided, and what I pitched you was the approach of, not really dissecting it, just dropping you into the event and treating it like a rock and roll film, in the sense of just giving you an experience. I called it a concert of human emotion.
Yeah.
And so I chased you for 2 years because I really felt that the event captured on film would help other people. And I also thought that the interventions that you do were so not only incredibly impactful, but just very cinematic. So I just believed in my soul that I have to make a film about this. Some people may think that, like, you hired me to make a film, or this is a completely independent film that I chased you until you would say yes. And luckily you did. I don't know if you remember, there were 2 stumbling blocks for you. The reason you kept saying no is that you didn't want the cameras to interfere with the experience of the viewer.
Yeah.
And you were also very concerned that, how do you take a 72-hour content-rich event, boil it down to 2 hours without trivializing it?
Yeah.
And so I worked on you for 2 years. I sent you some of my other films, and I said, look, you're trusting the filmmaker to take any, Paradise Lost, the films about those innocent guys. The murder trials were 6 weeks long, but you're only seeing about an hour of the murder trial in the film. Yeah. So like anything, you're trusting a filmmaker to condense time, but give you the emotional truth of a situation. Yeah. So you got over that hump. But you were still concerned about, the cameras interfering. Yeah. Yeah. So I made a deal with you. I said, look, the moment you think the cameras are in the way, just throw me out and we're done. And you said you're willing to take that risk. I said, yes, I'm going to come with my crew. Let me cover it. And the minute you think this is a problem, you can shut the production down and get rid of me. So I was under that pressure while we were shooting. but that's how the whole thing. That's how this all happened. And Sage, somehow you eventually trusted me, but initially I think you were very protective of Tony. You know,
I definitely was.
That was a gutsy move. I have to thank you so much because so many lives have been touched because of your courage and commitment and drive and persistence. But why don't you share what you felt? Because I remember when I was talking to him, finally, when you said that, I was like, okay, if I know for sure that people in the seminar are not going to be disrupted because they didn't come first, and you're willing to take that kind of risk, I'm willing to do it. But Sage still wasn't ready for it.
Well, I wasn't quite ready for a film crew in our home because our life is really full. And pre-Date with Destiny, my mommy and daddy normally come down. And so I think, Joe, you said that there would be 2 film crew at our house on day 1. And that morning there was like maybe 10 or 11 people. But what I didn't expect was that we would all fall in love, Joe. And you have such a beautiful heart and a brilliant mind. And it was such a privilege because Date with Destiny is just such a impactful and transformative program. And to have, I believe it's what this man was born on this earth to do. And to have a glimpse in, and I love what you said, to capture the truth of the experience, you know, the emotional tone and the transformation of these people. You portrayed such a beautiful narrative of these individuals' lives and their transformation. And we became such dear friends. So I'm so grateful. Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry for my stubbornness or my fear. And I got over it.
It kept me on my toes, but, created this tension because, to do what I have to do, I have to push and I have to get access and I have to capture stuff.
Yes.
And on the other hand, I promised not to interfere with the event, but you guys were great. And, everyone just did what they were supposed to do. But like one of my favorite moments in the film, for example, is after Dawn's transformation, I wanted to get back to see you, Tony, because you were in tears, and your security people and your team were protecting you and didn't want me to go back into that room. And I just said, "Look, I got to do it." That was the one point where I thought, "Okay, maybe I'm going to get thrown out now." But I just felt I had to get to you. And that's that interview was raw and real and like really my favorite moment in the film. But so it was a little anyway. Somehow it all worked out beautifully, and we've become dear friends. And I love I hear all the time from people. I hear all the time from people how I was going through cancer and watching that film helped me. I was going through a divorce. I watched that film. It helped me. Just to have. It's your work, so, but. Just to have a little participation in the mission that you have and what it's done for people has just been really such a special gift in my life. It really has been.
That's awesome. I get tears remembering that moment right now. It's one of my special moments from that particular event. And Joe, to give you an idea, Joe, when people see me on stage, I can't, I've shown my emotion. But when people are hurting, I feel it, but I can't let myself feel it completely because then I couldn't help you. Then I'll be with you, right? I'll be so with you as a person. And so, it always happens to me after one of these breakthroughs. I might show some emotion, but I go backstage and it's just, I have overwhelming emotion, tears, because it feels like grace, came through. It happens all the time. It happens every time, and I don't think I'm exaggerating in that an ounce. And I've been doing it for 33 years, 85 Date with Destinies now. This year will be 86, 34th year doing it, which is just amazing. And, the universe, God, as I see it, comes through you when you're really trying to serve, and it's not about you. But I think a lot of people don't see that side of me. And Joe literally said, Tony Robbins said, "This is my film, and that I get to do it the way I want to do it. And I get full access. That's our deal, right?" So he burst through the doors and he's filming while I'm sitting there crying. But it was really beautiful because so many people have been touched by that, Joe. So I appreciate your courage and your commitment, your persistence, and I'm grateful you've really helped us touch people in 197 countries around the world, thanks to Netflix. I also want to thank Netflix for taking this on because they've really helped us to reach a huge. Just give it up for Netflix, a beautiful platform. Oh, yes. And Joe is now like the king of Netflix. He doesn't talk about it. He's so humble, but he's got all these shows that are just become your last show, the one you did on Bundy. How many people watch?
They're all serial killer shows. That was the other. If people really know my resume, I usually deal with some dark subject matter, wrongful conviction, polluting corporations. I mean, this film has been, the other reason this film has been so special is like, I'm always so mired in the dark. It's just so beautiful to have made a film that shines a light on something so positive and transformational. But yeah, no, I've been doing, true crime is very popular these days. So I've been doing a lot of true crime stuff, which I'm proud of. But
how many viewers have watched your most recent shows? They were unbelievable. #1 on Netflix of all of them, right?
Actually, I've told you privately, but I'm not allowed to reveal.
Oh, okay. I apologize. not put you on there. But really amazing.
It's insane. It's an insane number of people. Like most of my shows have debuted at #1. When they air.
Yeah.
I did a show called Crime Scene: The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel, and that number was incredible. Our Jeffrey Epstein documentary, Filthy Rich, about that type of guy. They've all done pretty well, I have to say. Netflix is, an incredible. It's transformed the documentary business because it's made it, global, and they treat documentary as with the same respect as scripted content. I also did a scripted movie about Ted Bundy for Netflix on, called Extremely Wicked. With Zac Efron and Lily Collins. So when you look at most of my resume, people say, "Oh, you did the Tony Robbins film too? That's odd."
Your team was pretty skeptical when we started. Like your camera crew, it was really interesting to watch them. For me, what did you see over the couple of days? The first few days, they were very skeptical, and then you started to feel the shift. What did you see?
Like my longtime cameraman Bob Richmond. If I considered myself a skeptical New Yorker, Bob Richmond is like, makes me look like Mr. Positivity. And so he and the crew were like, "Oh, Joe, you sure about this? Oh, Joe." And by the end of it, they were. I mean, actually, there are some dailies in our footage where you see the camera drifting down because we had 4 camera people. They're all so entranced that they're like leaning in to watch what you're doing during an intervention, and they had to quickly realize, "Oh no, I'm shooting." So by the end of it, everyone was in and big fans.
Awesome. Well, let's go for a couple questions from our audience to start with, and then maybe we'll do an update on bring live one of our people that was there to give everybody. So who's our first? Someone going to give me the first question? You got it coming on live?
I got it, Tony.
There we go.
So first question is from Trey V. Shermont. And this is for you, Tony.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, there she is.
And she says, why did you create Date with Destiny and how did you do it?
Trayvon, nice to meet you. How are you?
As well.
Well, how did I create it? It actually came out of pain, which makes sense. I never was a business person. I never had a desire to own a company or do anything of that nature. And so I ran my company kind of that way. I got into business because I had this skill I wanted to help people with. So it'd be like an artist who then realizes if anybody's going to see my art, I have to put on my own art shows. And you got to hire people and do things. And so early in my career, when I was maybe 23, 24 years old, I was in a tough spot. I did well because I so over-delivered for my clients, but I didn't know how to run a business. Plus, I was on the road. So if you can imagine, I'd be on the road in those days 275 days a year out of 365. And so I wasn't around to run the business. And I remember Ken Blanchard, who's a good friend of mine, he wrote those 1 Minute Manager books. Some of you may have read. He's a brilliant man. And if you ever get a chance to hear him speak, he's getting in his 80s. I'd really encourage you to hear him. He's a beautiful soul. But he came to me one day and I'd helped him turn his golf game around. I helped him knock four strokes off his golf game. I didn't know how to play golf, but I know how to do psychology. So I was like God to him. And he said, I want to do something for you. And he said, you got to stop doing what you're doing. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you're trying to run your business? He goes, I do 1 hour talks and I can't run my business. You do 40-hour weekends. He goes, how do you run your business? And I said, not very well. And he said, you got to find somebody, do what you do best, find somebody to do the rest. And so long story short, I found 2 people eventually and I brought them on board and they asked me how do you want to do this? And I said, well, look, I said, how much money do you want to make? Was their big question. And I said, I want to reach more people. So we'll make plenty of money if we help enough people. You don't have to worry about that. They said, well, how do you want to do this? I said, I want to reach 3 times as many people, but I want to cut the time by 1/3 because I was traveling, taking my kids on the road. And, it was nice for a while because school's nice, education's more valuable, but kids need consistency. And so then I had to leave my kids for 2-3 weeks at a time and I was burnt out. And so one day I came home and I had my my accountant at the time asked to meet me, and I'd been on the road for days. He's like, it's urgent. Meet me. Let's walk on the beach. And he told me that my partners had stolen $750,000 from me, and actually $275,000, but I was in the hole $750,000 doing more seminars, bigger seminars than I ever done. I just didn't know how to run a business. And then they were stealing. And it was devastating. And the first thing I want to do was kill him, because to me, my business is like my child. So I literally chased this guy's house. Someone told him I was coming, and he fled to Mexico literally that day. And I had all this rage and anger in me because I felt so hurt. Whenever people are angry, it's important to remember what's underneath it. It's loss. And loss creates hurt. And I really felt like I loved these two guys. And one guy really stole, the other guy didn't really do anything about it. He knew about it. And so, long story shortened, I was like, I'm going to go to Mexico. I'm going to track this guy down. And my accountant told me I had to go bankrupt. And I said, I can't go bankrupt. He said, why not? It's not your fault. I said, I don't give a shit. It's my fault. I'm responsible. It's still my company. Other people will be screwed out of that. And so one of my lawyers said to me, he's a good friend, he said, Tony, you have every right to be this upset, but while you're busy chasing these guys, your company's going to go under. And this is your mission. I said, what do you think I should do? He said, I think I've seen you one time in your life be in a calm place. I said, when was that? He goes, when you went to Fiji that time to look for property. I go, oh, yeah. He goes, you came back and like everybody's, you should take more vacations. He said, I think you should go to Fiji for 5 or 6 days, leave this alone, figure out what you're going to do, and come back and crush it because it's going to take everything in you to figure this out. So I went to Fiji, and I was miserable still. I was sitting overlooking this azure ocean, and this thatched roof with like rosewood floors, a gorgeous spot. And I was just so frustrated. About 2 days into it, I finally had a breakthrough. I went to sleep, and right before I went to sleep, I don't know if any of you have done this before, but like go to sleep with a question in your mind, and you wake up and the answer is like pouring through you. And I woke, the question I had is I said like, Tony, you think you know so much about human behavior. And I thought I did. But I didn't predict this. And it was just who I was most mad at was me. And so I thought, they did it, but I didn't see it. So it's like, what really makes people do it? I was obsessed with that question. I fell asleep with that question. I woke up in the morning on fire. And I keep, I used to keep these hardbound journals, which I still do. I still have them from time to time, but I kept them all the time then. And I grabbed this journal and I went to the little restaurant and I looked out the ocean, all this stuff. And then I just started writing. And literally, I was writing so hard. I filled 2 of these. I wrote from, I think it was about 7:45, 8 in the morning till about 7 p.m. at night. I took a break for one sandwich, ran to the restroom. And people, this is a public resort. They come in and I look like I was a maniac going like this. I mean, in the end, my arm was hurting. And literally, I couldn't read any of the shit afterwards because I scribbled so bad. But I developed these insights. And the most important 2 insights I got at the most basic level was that our whole life is controlled by 2 things, and that is our beliefs and our values. Everything in our lives, all of you listening to me, everything you love in your life, everything that you don't love in your life has been shaped by your beliefs and values because they control what you focus on. They control what things mean to you. Is this the end or the beginning of a relationship, right? Is this person dissing me, disrespecting me, or are they coaching me, or are they loving me? Everything we think, everything we feel, everything we experience in life and every action we take, every result we get is controlled by your beliefs and values. And most of us didn't pick them consciously. We modeled them from people around us. Some people, like, we may have liked a rock and roll guy, and so then we try to be like them, and next thing you know, you're doing drugs, and that didn't enhance your music for some reason, right? It's like you really don't realize how much of your life is written by a script of other humans you've been around. And once I realized that, then I started digging into me and go, okay, what makes me go? And I spent the next 48 hours in Fiji after scribbling like crazy, designing this seminar for me. This is the only seminar I've attended, Date with Destiny, because it was made for me. And it rewired me because I always have these conflicts. Like, I want to help everybody. And I also, at the same time, I got to be honest and not everybody likes it when you're on, all these inner conflicts I had. And I figured out how to align my values because most of you, if you're really going for something in life, there's 2 types of motivation. There's push, you're forcing yourself. And then there's pull. Pull is where there's something that you want to serve more than yourself, your children, God, your family, something. And when that happens, there's something magical that happens in a human being. We're pulled to it. Push runs out. Pull doesn't. That's why I'm still here. I've been doing this 44 years. I've had the privilege of working with tens of millions of people around the world. And it chokes me up. It still moves me to see people shift. But I transformed. And I remember I flew home and I called a friend of mine who was the head trainer for my little organization those days. And I said, meet me at my house. But meanwhile, 4 of my guys picked me up at the airport at LAX. I was living in Los Angeles at the time. And they were like looking at me really weird. And they're like, and I said, why are you guys acting weird? They go, well, you're so different. I was like, really? In what way? And they said, you're calm. And I remember laughing because I don't think anybody would have called me calm before. But the reason I was calm, and this is what Date with Destiny really gives you, in the middle of stress like COVID, in the middle of the most extreme stress, losing a mom or dad or a brother or sister, or you're going through cancer, or your business is really challenged. The external world is one of the worlds we got to conquer. But we aren't able to really conquer it well. And even if you do well in the outside world, if you don't conquer the inside world. When you conquer the inside world, you can handle the external world no matter what it is. But most people are trying to do it out there and they haven't done it in here. And because my values had aligned, I was just pure pull and there was no more push. And the calm was because I knew for the first time that no matter what happened, that my life was going to serve at the level I was committed to. Emotionally, even think about it today. And my buddies were completely transformed by my presence. And then I took my poor TED trainer's name was Bob, and I designed my first Date with Destiny. I did it to him for like 40 hours all by himself, this poor man, over 3 nights and days. I just throttled every part of his nervous system. And then I said, I got to do this for people. So I called my team and I said, call these 50 clients. They're all people I knew pretty well, and said, listen, I'm going to do this at my house. It's called Date with Destiny. It's going to be these 4 days in those days, now it's 6. Because I've added things, obviously. And I said, I promised them, I forgot what it was like $5,000 or something. I said, I promised them 100% money back guarantee. If they aren't out of their mind, just think it's worth 10 times that much. And we did it in my living room, and it was amazing. And I remember, by the way, Joe, I don't know if you remember Joe, when Joe went through this experience, he had this transformation. And then he came to me and convinced me we were going to do this. And then there was this moment, Joe, I don't know if you remember this, where Joe's like, well, does this stuff happen every time? Was the one that I went, that was the special one? And I said, no, Joe, I've had people I sent him a bunch of videos. A man that was blind turned around, a woman who was disfigured, and I put them together. And all these different, I've done, 85 of these for 33 years. And every one, the universe, God comes through and you see people transform. So I'm so grateful. But I appreciate your question. And how are you doing in your life right now? Let me just ask you that. You asked me a question. Let me ask you a question. How are you doing?
Living in a beautiful state.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Give her a hand. Thank you so much. Yes, I think we have a question for Joe. Somebody said, let's go to that next, because I know Joe's got limited time. Somebody had a question for Joe. Can you bring that up?
Yes. So question for Joe. This came in quite a bit. People want to know, what would you tell somebody who is asked about what Date with Destiny was like? How would you describe it? And most of what we got in was, how has your life shifted as a result?
Interesting. I think Tony describes it really well, but if I had to put it in my own words, it's like, we never take the time, especially people who are busy and successful, we never take the time to just think about who we are and what we want out of life. And, before I went to Date with Destiny, I didn't take 6 minutes to think about who I am and what's holding me back. And, I was not feeling fulfilled, even though I was successful. And so there was something missing. And that was just really understanding who I am at my core. And 6 days to do that with a really beautifully structured program that really, and not everything in the program is for everybody. So there's some things that work and some things that don't. I'm just speaking for me personally, but the totality of the program was just incredibly transformational for me, which drove me to want to make the film, which it just quieted down that negative voice that was just always, nothing was ever good enough. And I realized, not to get into all my personal issues, but, a lot of my issues stem from childhood. And the thing that really was, if I had to pick one thing that's in the film and was at the 2012 event that I went to and always comes out organically at the 2014 event that I filmed, is, I'll just say for me, there's a handful of things that really spoke deeply to me, and each person is different, and different things will speak deeply to different people. But I had a tough time with my father, and still do, and but I can handle it now. And this idea that if you're going to blame your parents or anybody in your life that you feel is holding you back, if you're going to blame people for the bad, you got to blame them for the good. And that was just that simple thought that we don't allow ourselves to feel was transformational for me, because I had an amazing life. I have a beautiful wife, Lauren, who we've been together for 30 years, my first and only wife.
That's awesome.
I have incredible.
He's amazing.
We have incredible children, Sarah and Maya, who are now young adults, very successful in their lives. And I had a successful career, and yet but there was always this negative voice holding me back in terms of allowing myself to feel, fulfilled. And this idea like, wait, I have a lot of great stuff going on in my life, so why am I listening to that old story from my childhood? And so that's just an example. There's some core things that happen in a structured way, in a very loving environment, a trusting environment, that really just, did transform me. And it's not like you do it once and everything is perfect. You have your struggles, you go back and forth. I still deal with issues, but I was given the tools, which I still have and practice, to get me out of those moods. And that's the beauty of the event.
I hope that answers your question, Susan. Sage, what would you say about the event? Because you've not gone through it. You've been through it with me, day after day, event after event, for 22 years.
I think what's so beautiful is just to, as Joe mentioned, it's so rare in life that we have an opportunity to really self-reflect and go inward. And if you look at what's happening external in the world right now, it's, there's a lot of blame. There's a lot of external discord. And, I think what's beautiful, so gorgeous, is to watch the transformation that happens within individuals, and to watch them utilize those tools, to watch them see themselves, to watch them entangle, the stories that they've had that have caused pain and distress and have blocked them up from moving forward, and to watch that freedom, to watch that openness, to watch that love, just to see your love right now. I think the individual and the collective willingness and the collective consciousness that's formed at that event is gorgeous. It's this man's love flowing out, and everybody that raises their hand to go, it's just, we all fall in love. It's the most unique experience. And I think what's so beautiful, and for those of you who have watched, I'm not your guru, there's interventions of people that have the courage to raise their hand and to share their inner fears or their inner stories. And a lot of times, if somebody raises their hand, it's like, gosh, I'm not going to relate to them. But, what's so beautiful is what's universal is the human experience. And so, when somebody raises their hand and they're sharing their story, there's a me too. Me too. Gosh, I relate to that. No matter what they look like, no matter what age, where they're from, there's the relatability, because we're all on this human path together. And I think that week of life, and having the privilege to walk this path with this man, and to see just the freedom, the inner freedom, no matter what's happening on the external world, to watch people open up and to be reminded who they really are again and again and again, and to watch the celebration, to watch the love, and to experience that is, I never get tired of it. I never get tired of it.
It's my favorite experience. We have so many beautiful, yes, thank you. Have so many beautiful experiences in all the events that we do, but Date with Destiny is my favorite. We only do it once a year. And it's just because there's this community that's formed. We do that at all our events, but it's really special. You'll see, for example, I remember a woman that was, about 375 pounds, and a lot of young men, young boys, I would call them, would never pay attention to her. But within a few hours, we become so connected. Like Joe talks, people who are not sure about things all of a sudden start to drop in because they feel it's more than safe. It's beautiful. It's we all respect each other. We all love on each other. It just really grows into that. But you'll see these men, young boys that would normally not, they wouldn't look at this woman. They're standing on their chair cheering for her to get her breakthrough. It moves me so much to see that. And what Joe said is so true. Just a little tip for all of you. It's like, I'm a product of my environment as well, and the decisions I've made. We're a product of both.
Yeah.
If you don't make decisions consciously, then the environment just controls you. And most of us didn't have great environments because we have amateur parents. They did their best, but no one taught them how to be a professional parent, you know? And my mother, a huge part of who I am is because of my mom. She's a loving, amazing soul. But, you know, when she used alcohol, unfortunately, and prescription drugs, she became a different being. And she was kind of violent and intense. But what I always tell people is like, if my mom had been the mother I wanted, I wouldn't be the man I'm proud to be. You know, I grew from that. I had to figure out how to protect my younger brother and sister when she was in those states. I don't want to give the wrong impression. Incredible soul, but alcohol and drugs are a bad mix, and they change a personality. And so I had to learn to manage her emotions and her states. I had to become a practical psychologist.
Yes.
And it started me on a journey that I had no idea I was going with. I mean, that's why I really believe, I don't know how many of you can think of an experience in your life, maybe 5, 10, even 15 years ago, something happened that was horrible. I mean, you would never want to go through it again, no matter what. And you sure as heck wouldn't want your children or your friends or anybody you care about to go through it. But maybe 5 years pass or 10. And you look back on that time that was so horrible and you go, thank you, God, or thank you, universe. You know, it's just like, I can see the perfection in it now. I can see that it made me stronger. I can see it made me care more. I can see it made me develop skills that allow me to really do things today. And if you can find that, if you can start to develop that belief, especially in the middle of times like this, when there's so much fear out there, way more fear than is deserved by the situation.
Yeah.
But if you can find it and you develop that belief that life is happening for me, not to me, it might look like it's happening to me, but it's my job to find the empowering benefit. And if you dig for it, how many can relate to this in some way? Those, I can see your hands out there. How many can see a time when you thought it was horrible, but it turned out it served, right? Mm-hmm. And I hear people all the time, everybody wants things to always be perfect, but problems are what make us grow. If we grow, you know, like disappointment destroys some people, but other people, they turn into drive. And it makes their life so much more. And my hope, the reason we're doing this thing together is just to plant seeds with you, because we figured this is the time that people need a little bit of, you know, input. Because the external input is nothing but fear and upset and, you know, people losing their jobs and inflation and deflation. And oh my God, it was like you turn on the news and you would think the whole universe was over. But we're going through winter. And if you're a student of history, which I am, these are 20-year cycles. We're about halfway through it. Probably got another 7, 8 years of this winter. Now, winter doesn't mean it's dark all the time. It just means fear is the dominant emotion. You can study 1,000 years of Roman history, which I've done, and you see these 20, 25-year cycles. And so if you think about people, imagine you were born in 1910, and you're coming of age. You know, most of us come of age around 19, 20, 21, right? Come of age meaning the first part of your life, people are teaching you. And then all of a sudden you enter a new stage of life where you're going to test things out. You're going to decide what to believe. You're going to decide how you're going to live, right? You're going to test it out from your 20s to your 40s. Well, when that generation was born in 1910 came of age, it was 1929. Think about that. People are jumping out of buildings, they grew up seeing the roaring 20s and thinking they're going to have a car, this new device, they're going to have these parties, it's going to be incredible, and suddenly no one has food to eat. Imagine what that did to an entire generation of people. But you know what? It made them stronger. Yeah. And I guess they wouldn't be stronger by the time they turned 29, it was 1939. It was World War II, and none of us were around then. But the people that were can tell you it looked like we were going to lose. Hitler was rolling over countries. It wasn't literally till these people literally got into their 40s that they had a life where it was a new season. It was a springtime. Most people think of America's good times as the late 40s after World War II, the early 50s, up until probably 1963 when Kennedy died. And then a new pattern went for 20 years. Think how different the 50s were versus, say, the 60s and 70s. Versus the 80s and 90s to 2000. So history has its pieces. And here's what you need to know. Good times make weak people because we don't have to grow. Weak people make bad times. Bad times make strong people. That's what's happening right now. And strong people make great times. So what always follows winter is springtime. I mean, if you're a God, when you work it out that way, what follows the night is the day. But our job is to make the season happen now. Our job is say, what if you could make winter your best season? What if in the middle of all the shutdowns and all this fear, what if you could actually grow so much that the external world didn't hold you back at all? That you made this the best time in your life. For us, it actually is, because we're serving more people. We built this system, and we were told overnight, guess what? all your seminars are canceled. I mean, I remember somebody called me. We had a 60th birthday party. My wife put on for me. It was amazing. And we made it to serve Underground Railroad, this group that saves children from sexual slavery. And we raised, $14 million. I added $5 million. So we raised $19 million, saved 19,000 children's lives. Yeah, it was beautiful. And so it was like this incredible high, and I got to see all my friends, and we did this beautiful work, and my birthday wasn't just a party, it was a party with a purpose. And 2 days later, I'm on this high, and people start calling me and saying, Tony, are you going to cancel the seminar? We're doing a seminar in San Jose, San Francisco area. We had, I think, 12,500 people for it. And we're a few weeks away, so it would be, 15,000 people as usual, full stadium. I was like, what are you, crazy? I bled out. I had mercury poisoning in Australia, bled out, lost a third of my blood supply, and I was in a wheelchair on stage finishing it. I don't cancel events. And then the governor of California canceled it. I was like, what the hell do you do? I was like, then all of a sudden they canceled everything in Australia, everything in London, everything in Soviet Russia, all over the world. Only have 10 people. So we had to figure out how to adapt. And I was like, we're going to go, I know what we're doing. We're going to go to Vegas. They'll never shut down Vegas. Of course they did. And I was like, okay, we're going to go to like 1,500 movie theaters. We'll take 10 people in each one. We'll get the 15,000 people, right? They shut down the movie theaters. And I was like, we have a friend who owns a mega church in Houston. I'm going to rent his mega church. There's room for 15,000 people. They're not going to shut down the church and leave Costco open. They shut down the church and left Costco open. So a friend of mine said, you got to do a webinar. It's like, webinar. I watched this guy do a webinar with these 250 and 2-inch screens. I was like, I chopped my throat first. I said, it's got to be an event. It's got to be an experience. So I said, bring me a recorder. And I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to find a building with 40-foot high ceilings. And we're going to build 20-foot high LED screens. And we're going to do them 50 feet wide around me. And I'm going to call Eric on at Zoom. And I'm going to change it. He only could do 1,000 people. I need to do 100,000 people. And then I'm going to create some software so some people have it. When you hear the laughing, those are people who've been to a seminar, they have the software, and you can shake it, and when you do, it sends a signal here, and the louder the signal, the louder the laughter, or the clapping, depending on what's going on at that time. And we're going to bring people up so we can intervene with them. And it unbelievably worked, because like I can right now, so I can look over there and watch Victor Chan right now and see what he's doing, or Penny Miller, or Jacob Barber there, and I get to see you in your homes with your children. I look over here and see Carter Nagel. And in some ways, believe it or not, even though I love in person, it's even more powerful because you're there with your families. People usually have to fly away, be away from their family for a time, and then come back and try and explain what the hell happened to them, But here, your kids and your family are around you, and it's been amazing. And so I would normally go to 163 countries. I'd go to 115 cities, and I'd usually go to 14 to 15 countries, sometimes 163 events. And in this time, I would see maybe 250,000 people working my tail off around the clock, dragging my poor wife with me and going for it. And in this year, we've seen 2.5 million people in events all over the world. And we got to be here, and we have a 6-month-old child. We've been trying to have a baby forever, and God bless us. So we forgot to use COVID instead of COVID using us, right? So pretty beautiful experience. So I want you to know, it doesn't matter what's happening in the outside world. Our job is to figure out how to use it, not be used by it. And because of these new tools, we can help people with less expense, less travel, less everything, and we're reaching more people. So there's an upside to all of it. Well, let's go to a third person. Before we go, every event, there's 2 or 3 experiences that stand out for me. They're all beautiful, that are so memorable. And how many of you watched I'm Not Your Guru? I'm just curious, how many took the time to watch it before you got here?
Great.
Wonderful. Well, then you'll appreciate this update. So there was a young woman there, Joe remembers vividly, as Sage does and I do. Her name was Dawn, and she had been tied up in this group that really abused children. It was a religious group, and it was a cult. And she stood up, and, we have a night at Date with Destiny. There's an evening part I call Suicide Night, which sounds bizarre, and we do a big celebration because in any room of 5,000 people, or even back in those days, I think it was about 2,200, 2,500, there's at least a dozen people who are suicidal, sometimes 2 dozen. And so I read people's forms. Before people come to Date with Destiny, we have you fill out forms. It's different than anything else. I read them all. It takes literally weeks to get through it all. And of course, some people turn in the night before, so I'm up all night usually reading those too. And it's about 15 pages of questions. And some people are like, if I knew the answer to these questions, I wouldn't need Date with Destiny, But I read them so I have a deep understanding. I won't remember everybody's name. I won't remember everything, but the patterns are in me. So when people stand up, I know what many people have done, and I try to use every intervention to hit as many people as possible. This was one I was not prepared for, and that was this woman, Dawn. And John, let me give you an update on Dawn. Here's a quick little video, and then she's going to join us.
My name is Dawn Watson. I attended Date with Destiny in 2014. You might know me from the documentary I'm Not Your Guru. One of the most incredible experiences I've ever had. Since, everything that happened at Date with Destiny and coming back home and really working, doing the internal work that's needed, I created my method based on everything that I lived, everything that I went through, and everything that also I learned with Tony, and blending those two in a way of helping people understand that the only way to go through pain is to navigate through it. Just go right through it and face it head on, and really permit pain to show you, to teach you, to transform you.
I want to help people that have gone out to that and their pain.
My life changed so much in so many ways, and I'm so proud of myself because it was so much work, and it is so much work. But today, I see life with completely different eyes. I have an incredible person in my life where I get to share a beautiful relationship, and just being in that vulnerable, honest, and beautiful place with someone is so amazing. Being able to do the work that I do, I wake up every morning so happy to go and do my events and go and do my retreats where I help people, and also, lecture, do podcasts, share with the world my voice. Like that, really, there is nothing that makes me happier to live a life where I finally feel that I can be me, that I'm not hiding, that I'm not trying to cover up something because someone is going to find out, or I don't feel like I'm living a life trying to hide, or if you could think it visually, like just naked, just raw, just real, just open. And there isn't a better way to live life than just in that raw and open way. So everything becomes just a beautiful experience. There are days that it's not easy. There are moments where I have to navigate through some really difficult frustrations and pain. But, pain is not something that is not in my life anymore. But today I learned how to navigate through that pain. I learned how to learn from that pain. And it really comes from a place of, wow, this is my cocoon. This is a moment of transformation. So let me just be okay. Let me embrace it. Let me be here, because I know it's going to pass and I'm going to be better after it,
Let's give it up for Dawn. She's joining us live. Give it up for Dawn. Whoa, yes. Dawn, nice to see you. I got to see you. It was a surprise. I was down in Brazil doing a talk. It was about 5,000 people, I think it was. And I'm walking through the aisles, and I look up and I see this face. And I didn't even recognize you at first. Look how transformed you are. Tell us, listen,
Yes.
It's been 7 years almost this December. So 5 years for the film, but 7 years since that date. Tell us a little bit about your life. Give us an update.
Oh my gosh, Tony, just watching this and being here in this moment. And I feel like since that day when I remember that moment, and I remember the moment when I got back home and I had to really understand that work, internal work, was going to have to happen in my life for me to truly do what I wanted to do, which was help other people and use that pain to help other people. And I feel like since that day, and I'm here like crying because it truly is so powerful. That when you navigate through your pain, when you permit pain to truly transform you, how you connect with people, how you're able to feel people, how people from all over the world have connected with me with their stories, and that I, through my own story and through my own journey, being able to support them and help them. And I will never forget the day that you said, Dawn, you're not going to be another me. You're going to be you. And that's more powerful because you use your story, use your power. Don't be a copy of me, be you. And being able to come back to me and use my power and through my story, be able to help other people. It's just been incredible.
I really want to honor you because I offered you that day to learn from Robbins Madonnas, to go through the program we do for therapists, so you'd have all the skills I have. And you did it. You completed it. And you're doing seminars. You wrote a book, right?
Yes, I wrote a book, My Journey Back Home. I'm doing online retreats and creating safe environments for people to truly come and work through their pain and work through their abuse in childhood, because there's so much pain in our childhood. And if we don't learn to use that pain to empower us, it's going to destroy us. And so it has just been incredible to be able to be doing what you did today and be able to know that that is what healing is. Healing is going through your process, and then healing is passing it forward. That is part of the project of healing. For me, helping people is part of my healing process. And I know for you too, that is, giving, you receive back, healing, you heal. So I'm so grateful.
You look younger now than 7 years ago, doesn't you, Joe? I mean, that's incredible. You could just feel the radiance coming through you. Joe, do you have a question for Dawn? Just out of curiosity? Oh, he's turned off. There he is.
We haven't talked since the movie, and I see how great you're doing. Like, what did you have ups and downs, or was it like a straight line, or how did you get to this place?
Yes, no way. There is definitely ups and downs. I went through a really emotional process coming back from Date with Destiny. I think something that's really interesting is sometimes when we leave a Tony Robbins event, we're like, Tony's going to come in this white horse and just save us. And that's not Tony's, purpose. And so, he creates the safe environment, but the work, the healing you got to do in your day to day. And so when I finally understood that, healing is up and down. It is going through the ugliest parts of you, so that you can find out the prettiest, beautiful parts of you. And so I feel like that process until today, it's been so incredible. And then being able to be with so many different people that were at Date with Destiny. Even my uncle, he's here, and
he's here?
One of my events.
Joaquin is here?
Joaquin is here.
Joaquin, are you there? Can we put him on video? Joaquin, there he is. Oh, Joaquin, the great uncle. If you didn't see the film, just so you have context, there was a moment where, really Dawn couldn't even imagine anybody loving her or trusting a man of any sort. And I said, look around this room, and it's all this beautiful people, men and women, just sending love into her. It was gorgeous. And I said, I want you to pick, 3 men who could be your great uncles, that could be a source of support. And I interviewed all 3 of them. They all got chosen for different reasons by her. But Joaquin, you stood out, and I said, are you willing to commit to being there for her over the next 5-10 years? Not every day, but be there. 7 years later, and here you are. Let's give a hand for Joaquin for that commitment alone. That's pretty awesome.
It's been fantastic. Beautiful.
I mean, they didn't know each other. They never even met. He stepped up for her. Joaquin, what have you seen in her over the last 7 years? What can you share?
Well, she's had her ups and downs. You can get a call 3:00 in the morning, and she's sort of going through one thing or the other. And then I see her she has such strength, such power. And we kept talking to each other. We kept in touch. And someday she called me and said, look, Joaquin, I'm doing this seminar in Brazil. I have the strength. I need to heal people. And I see you doing such terrific things. I mean, you make people walk on broken glasses, and you make them break the arrows with their throat. Is that real? I said, please don't do this in your home. Please don't do this. But I flew over to Brazil, and she did the healing part, and I did the high impact part.
Wow.
A way to make people release their feelings and their emotions, because I'm a business coach. So for me, it was quite hard to deal with Dawn. She's quick-minded. She's always thinking about things. And, there we were, and it was fantastic. So right now, I'm from Ecuador. I'm in Spain. I'm finishing writing a book. And I promised Dawn, when I go back to Ecuador, I will fly again to Brazil, because it's so wonderful not only to see you, but to see how you deal with people who are going through difficult times. I had my share of that. And thanks to you, Tony and Sage, I've managed to overcome a lot of fears and difficult moments. and she has inspired me. It's beautiful to see you, and I'm part of the family. See, I like it.
Thank you, Joaquin.
Thank you. I love you. One thing, remember, life isn't how you paint it. It's the way you color it. And
Yes.
she's done a terrific painting and love. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you. I want to thank you. You're a stranger to her, and for 7 years you've been a resource for her. That just says so much about you. But I'm also just so grateful you've continued to change your own life as well. Give Joaquin a big hand. Thank you, Joaquin. Don, one last question. You know, at the time you couldn't imagine being with a male or trusting a male, and I said, "Well, I'm one," right? But in an intimate relationship. But I've heard that you've taken that part of your life to a new level too. Tell us what's happening in terms of relationship.
Yes, and it's so beautiful because I see that every time that you have the courage enough to navigate through some difficult pain, especially in your sexuality, especially have women that have gone through abuse, being able to open themselves up to men again and open themselves to them so that they can feel love and experience love. And my life truly has been so incredible after I decided that I was going to open up. And yes, it's going to be scary. And yes, I'm going to have to encounter a lot of things that are going to either scare me or I'm going to want to close up again. But the moment I said, yes, I'm in, I want to live this, I want to enjoy this, and just trust. Life has just been so beautiful, and being able to share my life with someone else and be able to be open to love and be able to completely heal that area of my life, and now be able to help other women heal their sexuality, heal the pain, and really transform it into something so beautiful and free. I consider myself today completely free.
You feel that?
In every area of my life, I completely feel that, and I'm able to share that now. So it really comes from having the courage to just say, I'm going to open up, and it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be magic, because healing isn't magic, but it's natural to our soul. Our soul wants to heal. So you've just open to it, it will happen.
Give it up for Dawn, everybody. Loves you, Dawn. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Joe's got to go, so let's give it up for Joe. Thank you, Joe. I love having you. Great seeing you, my brother. Joe Berlinger, everybody. Let's say something. I'm sorry.
I just want to say one thing. You know, at this point in my life, I've made probably 18 feature films about Metallica, Paul Simon, wrongful conviction, whatever, hundreds of hours of television. Truly the most impactful experience I've ever had was making I Am Not Your Guru, because it touched me personally and really transformed my life. So I thank you for that opportunity and the chance to, in my own small way, help amplify the incredible work that you and Sage do has truly been the honor of my life. So let's do a sequel.
Okay. Love you, Joe. Thank you so much. We love you so much. Give it up for Joe Berlinger, the one and only. The future is now. Let him hear ya. Thank you, brother. Oh, yes. You know, the great experiences that comes out of Date with Destiny. And by the way, I hope you come. You know, we'd love to have you be there. It's one thing to watch for 2 hours, nothing to experience for 6 days and nights. And there's nothing like it. We only do it once a year. And the beautiful part now is you don't even have to come in person. And believe it or not, some people say, well, that really worked. We did it this last year. It was incredible. Yeah. I mean, better than I thought it could work. Because also some people are more comfortable in their home. They're not surrounded by everybody. They feel a little bit more relaxed and so forth. But the greatest gift for me is not just saying people change. It's seeing people go home and keep that change and make that change benefit their family and their friends and their businesses and their clients and their customers. And so my whole thing is, you know, each one teach one. Yeah. Like, you know, I'm here to help everyone I can, you know, try to take 44 years of my life experience. That's how long I've been doing this. I started when I was 3, of course, right? And compress that into a few days, like compress decades into days and save you as much pain as possible and help you achieve more, but also to be more fulfilled. Because people think that when everything goes a certain way, someday, someone, something, I'll accomplish something and then I'll be happy. And it's BS. It doesn't work that way. Unless you can find joy in whatever moment you're dealing with, including your challenging times, you're not going to have a sustainable quality of life. Certainly not extraordinary quality of life. It'll be a life, but it won't be the one that you desire and deserve. And so that's what our focus is here. And to see Dawn, you know, if you didn't see the film, she grew up in this cult, the Children of God, and they were taught that children were supposed to have sex with the adults. I mean, if you can imagine being put through that kind of experience, or one of her family members, you know, left this planet early as a result of trying to deal with that pain, to give you an idea. And to see her today, if you saw the film and you see her now 7 years later, because that's one thing people go, well, does this really last? The answer is you bet it does. And the reason it lasts is because you're making a change inside of you. You're shifting your perceptual tools, your beliefs and your values and your rules. That changes everything. It's quite beautiful. Let's do another question.
Yes. And I think what else is so beautiful, Joaquin and Dawn are a reflection of the community and the friendship that
Yes,
really
that's
built.
true.
I mean, besides your own inner transformation, it's just finding like-minded individuals, the love that Dawn and that Joaquin shared and her other, like that team. There's just a collaboration and a rallying hood and a rallying of like true brotherhood and sisterhood. It is such a unique collective consciousness and family that's birthed through this process. It's really beautiful. Dawn, congratulations. Joaquin, it's wonderful to see you. God bless you guys.
That sense of, yes, give it up for him again one more time, please. That community of friends from all over the earth is another thing that no one expects that comes out of being here in this environment together. Because when you go through these kinds of intense experiences, it's just like it bonds us forever. Let's go for another question.
All right, next question is from Liz Ellis from Salt Lake City. And she actually has a question about some women she saw in the documentary. She says she relates to them a lot. She says, I'm a mother of 6 kids, the COO of a tech company. The achiever in me makes me take on everything, and my husband feels less important, which really hurts his self-confidence and our intimacy. How can I remove the it's not fair feeling so I can fully appreciate the gifts that he brings? And this is for Tony and Sage.
Oh, I see she's on screen. Liz, nice to meet you. How are you? Give it up for Liz.
So good to see you guys.
Nice to see you as well. Well, I would love to answer that question, but I'm fortunate enough to have my wife beside you, and she is a woman, so maybe I'll start with her answers to that question.
Yes, of course. Liz, hi, you as well, love to you as well. I think what's so beautiful is to recognize that like there's a puzzle piece that we all make a greater whole. And sometimes mind compares, especially when there's an economics, mind can compare this to that, or I'm doing more because there's a number, there's a dollar value on it. But for my own self and my own life and in our family, I think just a beautiful perception is currency. You know, the notion of currency, we all have a currency that we bring to life. We have a currency that we bring to our home, to our family. And that currency might look different than the economics. That currency might be holding the space for your children while you're at work. And to say that one is greater or less than, that's just mind judging. You know, it's not fair is simply a thought. And it's a thought that obstructs you actually being able to connect and really appreciate your husband, because he's bringing a currency to the table as well. He has a puzzle piece. We all have a puzzle piece, you know, and one is not greater than the other. I remember when Tony and I first got together, and, you know, if I was sharing on stage with him and I was in my mind, I was judging that I wasn't sharing the same amount. And so if I compare words to words, it's like, oh my goodness, there's a lot more, you know. Yep. You might be tend to be a little bit more verbose than I am in certain contexts. But once again, it's like, it's a complementary, you know, the notion of puzzle piece really shifted that for me. And in our home as well, in our business, it's like we all bring these gifts to the table and they look different. And when you look at it as a gift, rather than you look at it as I'm doing this economically and he's doing this. It's like, gosh, you know what? I bring this gift to the table. My husband brings this gift to the table. Your kids bring a gift to the table. They add to the emotional harmony of your home. Everybody is a contributor, whether they're conscious of it or not. We are all contributing to our homes, to our families, to our lives. And I think if we can drop the belief, if you can drop the judgment that it's not fair, because the truth is we choose it as well. You know, you're choosing it, he's choosing it. And just because it looks different than the way you think or life thinks it should be, it fits. Who's to say it needs to be different? It works for you. It's beautifully supportive. His puzzle piece allows you to go out and give your beautiful gifts to the world, and that's fulfilling to you. And if you are willing to try it on and, come up with a more empowering meaning that is just, oh my gosh, this man brings this gift, I bring this gift, and how freaking cool, because us together, we're able to serve our family and bless lives. It's just a kinder perception.
I just want to say, you're raising 6 kids and you're a COO. First of all, she deserves a hand. Just those 2 things alone, unbelievable. And what you're bringing up is why Date with Destiny changed. Remember, I told you originally it was a 4-day program. And I remember we used to do the 4 days, and people at the end, what you end up doing is you're literally rewiring yourself. So you're figuring out what's stopping you. Like when you hear kids today talking about I'm being triggered and I want a safe space. Well, life is not a safe space. It's your job to get rid of your triggers, not the whole world to adapt to you. And unfortunately, some universities have taught the opposite. And there are a lot of beautiful kids out there, young people, that feel unsafe all the time because they've been taught to be that way. And so one of the things, though, I realized was we go through the 4 days, people have rewired themselves to the happiest they've ever been. And then they go home to meet another species, right? Because we're different species. That's not politically correct to talk about, but we are. Masculine and feminine energies. There are some men that are more masculine, some that are more feminine. There are some women that are more masculine, some more feminine. It's not like it's about access. It's not about being one thing. Like I have access to my feminine, I can drop to tears and there are grace tears in a moment. I can also, shake a building, right? Push through any obstacle. So I think it's really about us experiencing both those. But for couples to be able to do that, that's why I took a day of Date with Destiny. I added a day.
Yes.
And we do it right after you're feeling really good. Like people about 3 days in it, this is the great experience of my life. And they're calling home and I can't even believe this. And then we do a day on intimate relationship because nothing, including for a COO who's powerful, including for a mom, nothing will grab any human being, no matter how strong that warrior might be, male or female. Nothing will bring your knees quicker than feeling like the one you love most, you're not enough for. And we all feel that at times. And it's not a one-way street. It moves. It's just part of being human because the deepest fear we all have is we're not enough. And if we're not enough, we won't be loved. And love is the oxygen of the soul. And when you have that, like people talk about their business all the time. Like I always thought my mission is everything, and it is, but it's second to my relationship. And I never thought that would even be possible, but because what that does is it empowers so much juice then you can deliver to other people. So making that relationship work, we spent a whole day on that at Date with Destiny. And then the last days we incorporate everything. So you have to not just see your world, but how the two of you match, because you have different models of the world. Like, for example, feminine energy, not a woman, feminine energy uses problems to connect. Masculine energy, which I'm sure you as a CEO, you use to crush the problem. Your job is to solve the problem right now, right? And so you see these natural conflicts in the way we come up with meaning. But just to plant a seed for all of you, since relationships so important, I'll give you something really small, but it could be really useful. So in your case, for example, Liz, as a woman, whether you're feminine or masculine, I'm sure you have access to both. You must to be able to do all that you do. Be a great mom, a great COO, you're able to use it all. But it tends sometimes when you're being COO all day long, you're going to come home and be in that same mode. And I don't know enough about your husband because he's not here to know what modes he's in, but it sounds like he might use more of his feminine. And then it feels like you're driving the show and where do I let go? But part of it is understanding like simple things. Like as a woman, if you feel, and I'm sure you don't very often, but if you feel unsafe, boy, that's going to shut down intimacy. It's going to shut down your flow. It's going to shut down those things so quick. If you don't feel understood as a female, how many ladies out there, if you don't feel understood, like you're out, you're not even connected. Make some noise if you're out there so we know, right? And it's hard for men to understand sometimes because literally your brain works different, right? If you're unseen, maybe as the first one, if you feel unseen, not understood, and unsafe, you're not going to be intimate with a person around you. You're going to feel separated from them. What do feminine need? I mean, for the gentleman out there, this is what you got to deliver. You got to, first of all, deliver that sense of being seen. Throw it up there for everybody. It's the opposite of these. Throw up those answers for everybody. Instead of being unseen, you got to have that person feel seen. That means connecting. Like my wife doesn't demand anything, but I'm always checking everything out at her. I'll notice that she's wearing these special socks with these shoes she got from the 1800s or something like that. And she's so special. I tease her about it. Or her beautiful eyeshadow or whatever it is. But I've trained myself to see those things. And I've trained myself. I can't understand everything because in the beginning, I'm like, please, I have a hard time letting go. I want to help everybody. But women have a whole different level. Women have a brain that literally is feeling everything. They know what's happening with the kids over here, and they know what's happening with you. They know what's happening women have a different way of focusing than men, right? And as a result, it's like you've got to be able to make them feel the attention is there and that they're understood. So my understanding is, honey, my understanding looks like this. I don't know how you do it. And it's sincere. I don't know how the hell you do all the things that you do because I used to want her to let go, but she wouldn't let go. But if I gave her enough connected attention and if I was really appreciating who she is, that's what I mean by understood. And then if I can bring presence to her, which in the beginning, I didn't even know what the hell that was. She'd say, you're not being present. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm right here with you. I'm totally present. She goes, that's not presence. So gentlemen, if your woman's ever said that, presence is calm and connected. I was connected, but I wasn't calm. But if you want to own a woman, she needs attention, AFT, if she's feminine. AFT means all the effing time, right? I remember I was talking to Anthony Hopkins once, the actor. He's a good friend of mine, Tony Hopkins. And he came to Fiji with me with this lady in his life. And he's like, she wants my attention every moment. I said, isn't that a beautiful gift? But my wife's beautiful. She gets my attention by I'll be sitting here reading something, all of a sudden, bam, I get hit. It's like an almond hits me in the head. She throws it at me playfully. She wants attention. You want some attention? Give me 3 minutes, And so you understand that as a woman. Now let's flip it for a man for everybody. What turns and shuts a man down? What is happening? Maybe you have to look at this. I don't know. But if he's here, I could ask. Criticism is the first thing that destroys your relationship with a man. And women don't criticize, they coach. But see, what's different is a woman can coach another woman and it's okay. Men don't want to be coached. They call it criticism. It destroys the relationship. And you don't even realize you're doing it because if you're with a woman and a woman says to you something like, I don't know about those earrings or that color of lipstick. I don't know if it's quite right for you. You might think that little whatever in your head. You might not even like her. But the next time you go to put on those earrings or that lipstick, your brain's going to go, oh, and you'll pause. A man won't do that. If you come to me and say, are you wearing that same gray shirt? I'm going to wear this gray shirt for the rest of my life rather than change you tell me it, right? Because as a masculine male, you got to own yourself and you want them to own themselves. But often you don't realize it. You don't call it you think you're coaching them. A lot of women think men are just hairy women that need coaching. And that's not quite true. There are different species, right? So can you relate to that, first of all? Do you criticize at times?
I think I've gotten pretty good at that over the years.
Okay. Okay.
Some of it feels a little more of my own little emotional snag of what's fair.
Oh, the fair part. Okay, I understand. And by the way, when it's not fair, then you're going to probably go to the second one you want to avoid, which is closing. When you close your energy down like that, you lose all your radiance. So he feels like you don't care. He doesn't feel the energy. And what most men do when it's closed, they go do something else because they don't know how to deal with it. They feel they can't win. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I teach men to do something very different, but that's what most men do. And then the third one is I don't know if you can own this or not, but if you're a COO, you must have a good portion of you that's about control without even knowing it, just a smidge, right? And when you got control, that is criticism and close combined. It literally shuts a man down completely, a masculine male, right? And by the way, it can be a woman because they're gay relationships. And in a gay relationship, if there's polarity, if there's attraction, there's an opposite energy. They could be the same sex, a gay relationship, lesbian relationship, but no one wants to be controlled. And feminine energy wants to control because how else do I take on the situation? And for you, since you are a controller of sorts, right? Because if you're operating as a COO, you got to control so much. You're being rewarded all day. It's like I've seen this happen with men and women. I'll see a man or a woman, and they'll tell me the relationship's on the rocks, or they're getting a divorce, and they're a lawyer. And I just ask them a series of questions, and the whole audience sees it, and they don't do it. So tell me what you're rewarded for every day. And the man or woman will say, well, every day I put people on the stand and I ask these intense questions and I break them down and we win and I become partner. And you do that all day and you're rewarded for it. You don't even realize when you go home, you do the same thing. You put your partner on the stand. You ask questions. So we have to be so careful about being able to separate our work from our home. Even though we work in the home, that makes it even harder today. Like how to shift gears.
Yes.
And I think if you can change criticism, I mean, you can own any man if you make him your hero. And men want to be your hero, but most women have been taught, don't ever depend on a man. That's a generation that's been taught that. And so don't, build them up. I'm not talking about faults. I'm talking about my wife lets me be her hero. She doesn't demand stuff. She asks stuff that I know if I can do it, it's going to make her happy. It makes me so happy. So instead of criticizing, it's sincere praise, not BS, because every man can feel it, just like every woman can feel that, right? Instead of being closed, it's finding the way to open. And I know that's not easy, but the way you can do that is express admiration. Because if you're admiring something, you're already opening. And instead of controlled, it's really opening yourself up, right? Being in a place where it's like allowing someone the freedom to be who they are. If you can practice simple 3 things like that, I think you'll see an improvement. But the other part is him finding his own masculine energy, not masculine like telling you what to do. That's BS. That's immature masculine. I'm talking about the masculine that knows what's right, has a clear direction, and that would excite you because you have that in your business. You want that in your home. And that's part of what we do with Date with Destiny. I can't give you that in 2 seconds because it's experiential. But what I can do is, did you watch the film? Have you seen the film?
Yeah, totally.
Great. So do you remember there was a woman who got up and gave her mission for the relationship? Yep. And then her man got up.
Oh, good.
It wasn't good. Well, they're about to join us. So why don't you see what happened with them? You saw it there. Give her a hand for a question. That's Liz. Give it up.
And then Ellen.
Want to hear ya. Oh, yes. Well, if you watched the film, at least recently, hopefully you watched it again, got to reconnect to it. Another great moment in that film were Tammy and Lance. And they were this couple where she got up, as I started to allude to, she gave her beautiful vision for the relationship, which was quite poetic and very diverse and very long. And then the camera turned to Lance, who was like, deer in the headlights. Like, how do I top that? Lance, I'm with you, brother. I don't know how you could have topped it. First of all, they're rejoining us here. Give them a big hand for starters. And I think I stepped on myself. I think we have a quick little video to summarize you guys, then we'll bring you back on. Do we have a little video? Is that right? Yeah, let's show them the video. Here we go.
I was stoked for what she had written because mine wasn't there, and I put my notebook down and I was trying to find her to like embrace her, and then boom, there was like it all happened. It was everything. It was just the power of the whole experience because you had all these people around. I'm getting called out on my shit, and I don't even know what's going on, at that moment. Just like whoa, and then he's in your face, and so it's the whole experience was like off the Richter scale, and definitely after that night, like connected on a different level, and have been ever since.
Well, I don't know if you remember from the documentary, but it was at the Tony Robbins event that I was like, I'm ready, and like I'd been like, I'm not ready, and then at the event, I was like, I'm ready.
I have always been worried about bringing children into our relationship, and after last night, I feel pretty damn certain I'm ready for that.
That's awesome, ladies and gentlemen. That's awesome.
And then we got pregnant right after that. So we have a 5-year-old son named Keenan, and he's the one that I claimed at the Date with Destiny, and I said, I want you to come in. And then we have a 3-year-old daughter named Ariella.
It's a constant battle, to keep on that line and passion, and then with the kids and everything else. And building the house we've been working on forever. And it's just, there's so much happening. The chaos is everywhere. And to try and keep our connection together, it's taken massive work.
No matter how crazy life is, no matter what is going on, like keeping our connection is just so important.
Give it up for Lance and Tammy joining us live, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for them. Feel all the love coming your way. Whoa, yes. Guys, I love seeing you got 2 children. I mean, that was one of the things you were struggling with at the time. Not just your relationship, but whether you were ready, where you're going to go for it. First of all, congratulations. Yes. What's it like being parents?
It's amazing.
Unbelievable. I watch them go to sleep every night, and I'm just like, I wouldn't trade this for anything in the world.
Aww.
Yeah.
It wouldn't happen unless you'd done the work you guys did on your relationship, and you know the difference that you created within yourself, Lance, in that moment when you roared. And anybody's seen the film, and I was telling him a metaphor, using some basic fundamental hypnotic patterns, because all the hypnotic pattern is you're no longer out there, you're inside yourself, and so you can rewire things. And while I'm telling the story, there's this moment where you remembered who he was. I was telling the story. What was that like for you internally? What did that moment mean to you? What did you feel?
It was a huge release. I can't even explain it. I think there's just so much packed inside, and it just felt like I cracked my shell, exploded, and ever since then, just been working more on myself, every moment. So.
Yes. Well, it certainly changed. What happened to you in that moment with your man when he came back over and you could feel that presence?
I mean, that's when I said I want to have children with this man. I just could feel him, and I knew that no matter what came at us, we would be okay. And that he was there. Like I could feel him. He was there, and we have, like it just mentioned, like we've been through, 2 Category 5 hurricanes. We've been displaced. We lost where we were living. We had a baby in the middle of that. We shut down our practice because we couldn't keep functioning. And we've been through a lot. And, and I think that moment that happened and the rest of the event is when I was like, I can do whatever with this man. And we have been through a lot since then, and I've felt him through it. He's been present.
Just 2 hurricanes and COVID, that's all you've been through? Rebuilding your home, having 2 children. When you said chaos, I think we have a better understanding of that. 2 children alone could create chaos, but all that. But isn't that the best testimony to both of your growth? Yeah. That all hell is broken loose, and you come closer and closer, and the things you're worried about being able to manage with kids, that's small compared to the external world. Could you guys change your internal world? I really honor you. Give them a hand for that right away, just to start with here. Just amazing. I love seeing the emotion in both of you, especially you, Lance. Look at the emotion of this man. It's just gorgeous seeing you. It's 7 years since that. It was 5 years since the film, but 7 years since that time this December. So just a couple months off.
Yeah.
It's beautiful as well. You guys are such a reflection of the human experience, and just hearing all the painful times in your life, all the times of chaos, all the shifts of your practice and everything, and just seeing you guys live this, seeing you put these truths to work, seeing you using these tools. You guys look younger, you look more beautiful. Your children are so gorgeous. I mean, it's so freaking gorgeous through you, on you, as you. You can feel your isness together. Really, hats off to you both. You guys are gorgeous. It's a privilege. Thank you for joining us today. And it's just beautiful. It's beautiful to see that you guys took that week, that moment, that intervention, and living that reality for your lives. And it's gorgeous to witness.
What advice would you give those listening, those watching around the world? There's people here from 158 countries right now, more than 100,000 plus people that might be struggling with issues with COVID, their practice being shut down, or a hurricane, or children. I mean, tell us from your own words, what would be your best advice for them to really ensure that no matter what happens in the outside world, they can really continue to grow deeper together?
I'll start.
Boy, that's a different pattern as well. Look at that. If you guys watched the film, it was the direct opposite pattern. She was running the show on everything. Okay, I'll start. All right, I like that.
Working hard to keep the love alive and the spark.
Yes.
And just trusting the process and trusting your partner.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in the middle of tough times, right?
Yeah.
What do you think, Tammy? What would be your advice?
I'm such a believer in what I hear you say all the time and just heard you say again, which is life happens for you, not to you.
Yes.
And everything that I feel like has come our way, I'm like, all right, like we listen, we're like, well, what is this? Like, okay, we can't, we're being displaced, we're moving, we're having a child in the middle of it. Like we're closing our practice. We've actually reopened. And it's like more that I've ever wanted in practice of how we've been forced to recreate. And it's like everything does happen for us, and just like staying in that energetic, staying in the knowingness of divinity and of being led and trusting and allowing life to unfold and not spending time saying, why is this happening? Or it could be different, but just really honoring whatever it is that's coming our way and trusting that it's for us.
That's beautiful. Give them a big hand. Love you guys. Congratulations on your children. Congratulations on your love. So thank you for joining. So great to see you and get an update. Love to you. Let them hear you. Yes. Couple more questions. Who's next?
Next is Ellen Satra from Vancouver, Washington in the U.S., and this is for Sage. As she says, in the documentary Sage, you talk about how congruent Tony is, that he is who he is on the stage and the same as who he is in life. What are some behind-the-scenes moments that very few people see, and what kinds of conversations do you have after each event?
There she is, Ellen. Nice to meet you. Give it a hand for Ellen. There she is in person. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you as well. Thank you for joining, Ellen. Gosh, that's easy. When I spoke about his congruency, I think what continues to strike me, we just shared 20 years of marriage. We've been together for 22 years. What continues, yes, thank you. What continues to amaze me, and what I meant by the congruency is just who he is. He lives that reality. We were on a plane not too long ago and Tony was flipping through, we were flying out of San Francisco and he was flipping through a newspaper and there was a story of this woman who was a centenarian. I think she was 101 or 102 at the time. And she was being misplaced. She didn't have a place to live and she was being evicted from her home. And many people will just read that and maybe they're touched by it. Maybe they're moved by it. Maybe they might even feel the injustice of that. But what's so unique about this man's soul is he acts, and his level of service, his level of generosity, his level of love, the level of givingness on a daily basis. Whether it was that lady, he ended up taking care of. We ended up taking care of her rent. I think it was for 2 or 3 years later, till she passed. And that is a reflection. I could tell you thousands of stories like that in our home. If somebody's hurting, if he notices something in somebody's face, he doesn't just walk by. The level of care, attention, and love, because it's love that's driving him, that you all experienced, in the snapshot of I'm Not Your Guru, of the event that he does, Date with Destiny. He lives that reality and that truth. I think what else is unique about him is the level that he prepares. how deeply he cares, how invested he is. Even coming here today, he could walk on, he knows, you know what I mean? He would know what to say and do, but his heart to deliver all of himself in every moment, I honor, I respect. It never gets old to me. It continues to amaze me. He just, finished a book, and it was, he poured all of himself into this book, from, he was going to bed at 10 in the morning, and that level of devotion, that level of servitude, that level of love, of wanting to express all of who he is and to touch another life, for myself as his lady and life partner to walk this path, that's never gotten old for me. And I just continue to be in awe and moved by that and inspired by that myself. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. Wow. I just, this year was my first year being immersed in your guys' work. And so I just appreciate the service you guys give and appreciate you as human beings. It's just beautiful to see. I'm like getting all teared up now.
Thank you.
Tell us about you for a second before you go. Tell us about you. Thank you for the question, but tell us about you. What's going on in your life? And
so, wow, I've been doing a lot of work. UPW I did my first one back in March.
Oh, wow.
And that was life-changing for me. Like, so many great things have happened. I'm kind of in a season right now where I'm working through some things with my 14-year-old and my 20-year-old. So I'm just kind of going back to
that's a season. I know, we know that season. Trust us.
Yeah. So, but now my perception of life has changed so much, and I have you guys to thank for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And you went to a virtual program then, right? UPW virtual.
Yes.
Yes, that's wonderful. That's beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you for your question. Give it a big hand. Thank you so much, Ellen. Couple more questions or I'll wrap up soon.
Yes. So we actually got a lot of comments from people that attended the last Date with Destiny after you were chatting with Tammy and Lance, and it reminded them of another intervention you did just this last Date with Destiny with Verity and Joey, and the team has a video.
Oh, wonderful.
That we'd play.
Let's hear it.
Hi, my name is Verity. I live in Vancouver. I went to Date with Destiny virtually in 2020 and will be back again in 2021. Tony connected with me immediately over a computer in a way that I have never connected with anyone before. And right away, I felt comfortable. I felt at ease. I felt engaged. And absolutely blown away by our time together. And within 60 seconds and 4 questions, Tony had taken my life's work and weaved all of this information into this cohesive narrative that perfectly explained why I was at where I was at in my life. And that moment broke me the fuck down. I am who I am, and I'm imperfect, and I think that he wanted to be there for me and love me even more in this profound moment. So it was beautiful, and our relationship has never been the same. We're fucking happy, and we still fight and we still all these crazy things, but that opportunity gave us the chance to speak the same language and come from the same place and get to know each other in our truest terms. And it was beautiful. In that moment, I think we just made this commitment to each other that it's more important to be happy than to be right. And oh my God, I would pay many times over the Date with Destiny fee just to really believe that and to live it. And God, it's saved us so many disagreements and drama and tears. And like, even just thinking about it, I have like tears of grace right now. It was just really magical, and I'm very grateful.
Give it up for Verity, everybody. Yes. She can't join us right now. She sent the video in for us because they're traveling today. They're on a plane during the time of this. But if you didn't see that event, which unless you were there, you wouldn't have, it was just really wonderful because it was the first time we did Date with Destiny where we did it in this format. And, all the other events we've done so successfully, Business Mastery, Unleash the Power Within, unbelievable energy. We have people like police come to people's homes because they're making too much noise in their apartment building because they're having such a good time and things of that nature. It's just a really amazing interactive. But, Date with Destiny, I also do sometimes suicide work. Not sometimes, it happens. And it's like, how do you do that through this piece? But we were really pleased. And her husband, Joey, he was being the man and they had a big fight. So he was over on a boat, literally on his boat. So we got him on the boat on Zoom and we did the intervention. He's on the boat. She's at home. I'm here. And it all came together in such a beautiful way. So give it up for the two of them. Beautiful job. Thank you, Verity and Joey. Let's do 2 more questions and we'll wrap up. 2 more.
So
that's 2 questions.
Awesome. Next question is from Christopher Jorgensen in Michigan. And he says, I've recently let stress take control of me to the point where it is affecting my health. I signed up for Date with Destiny this December, but I wonder if I should wait for an in-person event. How is it possible to recreate the type of moment that were highlighted in the documentary in a virtual environment?
Well, that's funny. Well, the last video might be a good example for you, right? First of all, nice to meet you. Give it up for Christopher here. Nice to meet you, Christopher.
Nice to meet you, Paige, Tony.
Listen, I'm so thrilled to come to Date with Destiny. I promise you an experience you'll never forget. And all of you, if you decide to come, we give you an absolute money-back guarantee that if you don't feel the first day is worth it all, you get to keep whatever you learn and leave, and no one does. But I understand you being a little skeptical. I was too initially, but I had to find a way to help people. And there are aspects of this virtual version that are better. It's certainly better for people in terms of being away from their family. We have a lot more moms that are participating now who couldn't have done so before. But also because you're in your home, there's a different experience. I don't know how to describe it. First of all, you're not fighting. You don't have to fly. You save tons of money flying in the hotels and all that stuff. But the level of connection you have with the people is extraordinary. You still have these relationships. We put you in teams and so forth that you build just like you're alive. But we're able to do it on your terms in a much easier way. And if your family's nearby, they're going to be walking through the room and experiencing it and seeing it, which is normally you have this experience and you call home at like 2 a.m. or 1 midnight. Oh, I just had the greatest experience of my life. And they have no idea. But what I love about it is I get to see your kids usually. I get to see your dog. I get to see your home. I learn about you, like seeing the U.S. Army there on the side there. There's some experiences that I don't get in a live person. And I also know everybody's name, which I don't do in a normal event either. So there's some cool pieces. I wouldn't put it off. Please don't, you'll kick yourself. The only thing people ever say to me about Date with Destiny is like, what's your complaint? Why didn't I do it sooner? And I'm not exaggerating because it's such an immersion. And if there was any time to do it, it's freaking now, right? With the way the world is right now, with the world is now, and especially with what you just described you're going through. So I'll be happy to answer any other question for you, but I wouldn't let you, my one wants to say something here.
Yes. Hi, Christopher. I think what else is so interesting for myself, we've been together 22 years, so you can imagine all the events that I've been to. And I remember when we first went virtual, I had my own doubts and uncertainties about things of how it was going to translate. And the very first Date with Destiny, there was pieces that I watched from home, and I was so struck by the intimacy of Tony. Like normally if he's on stage, he's projecting to say 10,000 people. But when it's virtual, it's just he's right there. And each person that raises their hand, there's just this beautiful intimacy that's poetic. Like it's so gorgeous. And for myself, there was things that I experienced that slipped through inside of me. I'm like, gosh, I've heard that so many times, but I heard it differently because of that container. And I think as well, the gift of doing Date with Destiny in your home, you're in your own environment. It's almost, there's a safety in a container to open up more. That was my experience anyways.
My wife actually told me, I don't want you any more live events because you're better at this. because when you're holding a room of 10,000 or 5,000 people, I don't know, there's a different intensity. Now, if I did that intensity to the camera, I'd look insane, So I'm able to be a little bit more like I would be at home. And a lot of people feel that. And also there's like a different environment when people are in their home than when they're in a strange environment. So those are some of the pieces for you to consider at least. What kind of questions or comments do you have?
Well, actually, after that last video, Tony, I was going to withdraw the question. So,
okay, good. If you have another one, we'll take your other one if you want.
Well, you know what's it's actually, I've gone through a little bit of an emotional roller coaster just through these couple of hours, and I realized I was thinking about stress and maybe I thought it was because I didn't have my mission or my purpose in place. But then Liz started talking about her relationship, and then you started talking about those 3 points. I'm like, oh my God, I'm screwing that up too. So, yeah, I'm not waiting, Tony. I'll be there.
Okay, brother. I'll look forward to serving you. We'll see you then, Christopher. Give it up for Christopher, everybody. One more question.
Okay, this final question is from Maya Gira from London. And this person says, there are so many people that attend the event that have gone through traumatic situations. How do you select them and how do you support them?
Okay. Is she here? Is Maya here on the screen? If not, then I'll answer a question. Let's bring her up so I can see her. Give it up for Maya, everybody. There she is. Hi, Maya. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
You're in the UK? You in London?
I am. I'm in London.
Oh, very nice to meet you. Well, have you experienced any of our programs?
Yes, I've actually gone through Project Next,
wonderful.
And I absolutely love that.
Oh, that's really wonderful.
Yes,
well,
and I'm part of your inner circle as well.
Well, thank you. Well, my partner there, Dean, is also, I'm sure, supported you as well in that.
Yeah.
The answer to your question is, how do I pick people? I read everybody's forms. And then I do mark out the people that are suicidal that I'm aware of. Sometimes they say it in the forms, oftentimes they don't. And I kind of store what those patterns are in my brain. And then I walk in the audience, and quite honestly, it's completely spontaneous. I feel people, I see them, I notice where it is. Especially now where I'm able to see everybody so much larger than in real life and see their home, its environment, so I can feel what's going on, and then I pick it. But I also stay with people as long as it's something that really serves the audience. And as you said, a lot of people have had extreme trauma, so I make sure it's not hard. We touch those, and then what happens is you transform as you're watching them, as you're hearing them, because you start to identify somebody in your life that's like that, or yourself. But then also we take people that I try to make sure we mix it up. People that are incredibly successful. There's a gentleman stood up and he got no sympathy. He made he sold his business for $600 million or something like that, and he was depressed. And people are like, oh, I like your problems. But what's beautiful is you get to see how all of us are so human that it doesn't matter. Like the one thing that we're all going to experience, since you brought up trauma, is extreme stress. There's no one on earth. I don't care. I remember there was a gentleman I knew years ago, I won't mention names, but he seemed to have this incredibly charmed life. And a lot of things, I was working my guts out and I wasn't seeing the rewards. And he had a business, and then the business grew, and we were partners in a small business, and then business grew separate, another business. He made like $1.5 billion in 1 year. And I remember thinking, I worked 22-hour days, and this son of a gun, he was my partner. I know how much his work ethic is. It wasn't that level, but he was in the right place at the right time, and everything just came together, right? And I wasn't resentful towards anything else. I was just like, damn, I'm working my tail off. And how many of you ever felt that way? Like, I'm working my tail off. How come it's working so easy for them, right? Whether it be relationship or economics or business. But I've been alive 61 years, and I've had the privilege of working with tens of millions of people through ongoing online things, and obviously, millions of people in live events. And the one thing I've learned is everybody has their time. And I remember one time he called me about 4 or 5 years later, had more money than God, and a member of his family, so I don't reveal who it is, was going through an unbelievably tough situation, and nothing else mattered. right? Nothing else. It didn't matter how successful he'd been in business. It didn't matter how much money he had. He had no idea what to do. He was crushed. His spirit was crushed. And I felt for him so bad. And of course, I stepped up, and that's a place where my skills were helpful. And I was able to help him turn around the pieces that could be turned around. Some of them were physical things, but the emotional and psychological places helped him to shift. But it just struck me so much. And then since that day, and that was decades or so ago, I just now have a different level of compassion for everybody. Because whenever you see people, like I see behind the scenes, because I'm the one who gets the phone call from the athlete when, they're on top of their game and they're the best in the world. They call me then because the best people always are looking for that edge. They know a little improvement. I'm going this direction, make a 10-degree difference, but you go out a month from now, 6 months, a year from now, it's a different destiny. It's a different destination, and they know it. So who calls me? People on the cutting edge, but also people call me when they're in the most challenging times, as you can imagine. I get the phone call when the President of the United States, is going to be impeached. He's totally going to impeach me in the morning. What should I do? I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about Clinton, although Trump called too, right? And I got to do something. Or I get the phone call, from the athlete got to turn around, like Serena Williams, and her sister's killed, and she can't get on the course. So I don't care if you're Serena Williams. I don't care if you're the President of the United States. I don't care if you got billions of dollars. We all go through extreme stress. Every one of us, my friends, every one of us is going to have bad things happen. Aren't you glad you showed up for this happy seminar? But we are. We're going to have, your house is going to burn down, or you're going to be burglarized, or someone in your family is going to be diagnosed with a disease, or you're going to find yourself in a position where you lose your job, or the government's going to shut down your company and you did nothing wrong because it's COVID, or. It doesn't end. And then what are you going to do with it? And what I tell people is, I give people tools on how to break through those things and make it easier. That's what these people have been talking about. But if you learn how to do that, when you're going through hell, you got to keep going, obviously. And if you stop, you live in hell. And if you keep going, you'll learn three things. If you get through that, if you learn how to use the stress, not let the stress use you, then what happens is, number one, you learn how strong you really are, because nobody knows how strong they are till they've gone it. We know that in our 22 years, and I know that in my 40 plus years of doing this, 43 years. It's like you discover your strength that you wouldn't have without the problem. And then the second thing you discover is who your real friends are, who your real family are. Because when things are tough, only the real friends stick around, not your Facebook friends, right? And then the third thing you develop, I think, is you develop an inside immunity. It's like when you've been through hell. I have a friend that was locked up in Vietnam. He's an elderly gentleman now, but he was locked up next to John McCain. They were in isolation. He was in the next block over, and they were beat every day. They had a lie. They were chained to the floor on an angle so that with their head down, so that when they went to the bathroom, the acids would run down their back and burn them. It was just pure torture. And he was there for 7 years. And I remember one time I was with him, and the IRS was coming after him with this big deal. And he was totally calm. And I said, how can you be so calm? He goes, I've had the North Vietnamese have me for 7 years. What do you think the IRS can do to me, right? It's like you have an immunity to all the shit that other people can't handle. You become more. And who I am today is the result of all those things I've gone through, and trusting that there's something larger in it. It's my job to find it. And so who I pick, it's really in the moment. A lot of times I even have a plan. My team will tell you, here's what I want to do. And then I go out there and it completely changes because I feel it. But everyone's able to be touched, and everyone will be stressed. I want to bring one more point up. People think that if life went a certain way, they'd be happy. They think if they had no problems, they'd be happy. And I think the biggest problem we have is we think we're not supposed to have any problems, because problems are a sign of life. Problems will make us grow if we grow. Some of us just collapse. But like COVID's a perfect example. You can let it destroy you. You can let it drive you. And, we've let it drive us in all kinds of ways. And so we've turned it into a blessing. It's our job to find a way to turn these things into a blessing. And, when people say there's a problem, what's a problem is relative, right? You think something's a problem until something else happens, and you find a real problem. So I hope that all of you out there, if nothing else from this time we have together, I hope we get a chance to work with you in some way. But if we don't, maybe make some decisions today that are going to change your life. And one of those, put yourself in an environment where you can learn those skills. But the other is just not let anything shut you down. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you so much, Tony.
Thank you. Give her a big hand from London. Give it up. One more.
Did he say? No more. All done.
Yes. Well, listen, I really just want to thank you for spending this time with us. We'd like to, I've asked my team to make you an offer if you do want to go to Date with Destiny. That would be as irresistible as possible. My company is now owned by the employees, so they put something together for you. And I asked them to put some special things in because of what's happening with COVID. And now you can do it from your home if you want to, so you don't have to go anywhere to do it. So I'm going to turn that over to our team. But I hope that watching this film, and I hope that just spending a little time together today reminds you that we can all create a compelling future.
Yeah.
You know, I ask people all the time, you know, what do you think would be the best thing that could ever happen to you? And the number one answer I hear around the world, and there have been studies that do this as well, that's where I got it from, is people say to win the lottery. And then I say, what's the worst thing could ever happen to you? And you get all kinds of answers, but the number one answer is become a paraplegic. And so there have been studies on this. Studies to see 3 years after the event of either winning the lottery or being in a position where you lost the use of your limbs, who do you think is happier 3 years later? If drugs are not involved. If drugs are involved, it's off. But if the person doesn't do drugs, who do you think is happier at the end of 3 years? Someone who became a lottery winner? I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars? Or the person who is now a quadriplegic or paraplegic? And my bet is, you put the answer in the box here, and I'll read it and see what you do. Paraplegic, loss of limbs, paraplegic. Well, I kind of led you that. Why else would he tell me the story and loves paraplegic? If you wrote paraplegic, you're wrong. If you wrote down the person who won the lottery, you're wrong. You know why? Because after 3 years, studies show they're both just as happy as they were before. If they're unhappy, they're still unhappy. If they're happy, they're happy. The person who won the lottery gets upset because everybody wants something from them, and it's no longer about their relationships. There's all kinds of studies showing that. And the person who's a paraplegic, if they can move a finger, all of a sudden there's this incredible appreciation for the littlest things in life. So thinking that when the world's no longer COVID or when things go back, everything will be okay, that's BS. If you really want things to be great, you got to master what's happening inside. That's what this event called Date with Destiny is about. It's 6 days. It's once a year. It's coming up in December, and we'd love to serve you if it makes sense. But if not, I hope today's inspired you, and I want to thank you for helping us feed 3.2 million meals of Feeding America. Let's give it up for that as well. You want to say anything?
We just wanted to thank you for your willingness and just your gorgeous spirits. You are all so lovely, and for the generosity of the people who shared today. Our prayers that you were reminded and that you were called, and that through their sharing and through this entire afternoon that you've touched upon something more deeply inside yourselves, or remembered a truth inside yourself, that you feel more freedom, more openness, and that your soul obviously called you here to join this. It's just that hunger is what guides us, and it's all led us to this moment. And we pray to see you at Date with Destiny. If that doesn't serve you, I know that our paths will cross, and thank you for your courageous hearts. We love you. God bless.
Hope to see you in December. Love you all. We're going to pass it on to KK.
Thank you, guys. Tony and Sage Robbins, everybody. Thank you, Tony. One more time, let's give it up for Tony and Sage Robbins, everybody. And also Joe Berlinger. Whoa, yes. All right, stay put where you're at. We have some really important business to go over right now, so don't leave, don't move. I know some of you, it might be the middle of the night or early in the morning. We have some prizes to give away, and also Tony wants to invite every single one of you to be his guest at Date with Destiny. So we've got a lot to cover right now. First up, it has been magical today. It has been beautiful to witness all of you. How do you feel right now? There's over 100,000 of you guys that just got a front row experience to the heart and the magic of what Date with Destiny is all about. And if you feel like you feel it, if you feel like you know it, if you feel like you understand Date with Destiny, put both arms up in the air like this. We're going to be doing a virtual fist bump. Come on. Let me see all your energy on Zoom, Facebook, YouTube. Move that body. We've got something to celebrate, my friends. Mark your calendar. You've got a date with your own destiny. Whoa, yes. All right, my friends. friends, I want to share with you right now that Date with Destiny is in 42 days from today. It is the 42-day countdown, which is something to celebrate. And Tony just shared it, and I want to reiterate it, that he is going to give every single person here tuning in from all over the world, investing their most precious asset. If you decided to join here today, you're going to get a today-only opportunity to join Date with Destiny for your own pricing, a special package, and then some hand-selected bonuses for all of you to go to this event. I've never seen something like this in my life, so I'm going to spend the next few minutes, sharing with you all the details. But to do this transformational Date with Destiny event, we have to embody the energy of Date with Destiny to do it. So please sit up in your chairs with a little bit of energy. Say yes. Make some noise. Okay. Dates. To go to Date with Destiny, this event, you guys, is December 4th through the 9th. You want to block off your entire day to go. This December 4 through 9, this is a 6-day and night full immersion event. You get more time with Tony at Date with Destiny than any other event that he does. And he said it. Our company is owned by employees. We put this package together for you guys because we don't want you to miss the opportunity. What we did here today, this isn't immersion. This is so inspirational. This is incredible. But what Tony wants you guys to have is transformation. That is why you invest 6 days and nights. Who thinks they could do 6 days and nights with Tony Robbins? Yep. Career, life, relationships, clarity. So that's why we love it. That's why it is 6 full days. The location of this is wherever you want. This is the only time that we've ever said success is convenient. Tony's made it more convenient than ever to do it in the virtual environment. It's more affordable than ever for all of you guys today. You can do this event from your home, from your office, your kitchen, in your underwear, for all I care. It is virtual. We will meet you in the studio, and you'll have this interaction with people from all over the world. So being his favorite event, it was really important for him that today we're going to make it possible for all of you to go to this event in just several days. This is going to be December 4th through the 9th. Who's up for this? Going to Date with Destiny, meeting Tony Robbins back here in the studio. So I'm going to share with you guys what he's put together for you today. So take out a pen. Here's all the details, okay? First thing you're going to get included in today's celebration package is the entire Date with Destiny experience, all 6 days and nights. I'm telling you guys, this event will rewire you in ways that you've never even dreamed of. Your beliefs, your values, what motivates you, why you make decisions, why you do the things that you do, the relationships you have in your life. It's really coming home to the truth of who you are. I remember my first event, I paid like a little bit under $8,000 to go to Date with Destiny. So it's a substantial event with a lot packed in there. The second thing that Tony wants you guys to have is 3 pre-training events before you even go to Date with Destiny so that you feel set up and ready to have an incredible experience. If you feel like preparing before you go would be something that would support you, make a little fist bump right now so I can see it, okay? And not just one of them, 3 of them. Next, you're going to get access to Tony's private mastery community. This is everyone that trains at a higher level with Tony and all of his higher level programming. And because he loves you guys, there are going to be 3 bonuses only for you here today. Make sure you write this down. I'm so excited about all 3 of them particularly. But the theme about these bonuses is taking your power back. So the first bonus that you are going to get, it's only if you are here today. So if you need to message somebody and tell them to get on the Zoom right now so they get it, go for it. But it's only for you guys at the celebration. The first bonus is going to be access to something that Tony calls ultimate advantage. Sometimes he calls it beautiful state. But what is the bonus? Okay, he's been doing this for a long time, 4.5 decades. And he's obsessed with this question, what's the difference that makes the difference? Like truly, between one person that has a great relationship and doesn't, experience success and doesn't. And what he found is that there's a decision that you need to make. There's one decision, to live an extraordinary life, to live in this beautiful, empowered, active state. And he does this 5-hour training on it. It's been priced differently throughout the years. People paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to get access to training that involves this training. But he created one bonus for you guys. It's like $495 of value he wants to give to every single one of you. So that's bonus number 1. If that sounds good, that makes you feel good, say yes. It doesn't end there. The second bonus is for all of you today that felt like what you saw inside Tony and Sage in their relationship when they interacted with other people with experiences of working on their relationships at our event. If you notice today that you have a desire to strengthen your relationship, just put a hand up. I'm curious to see those of you in the room. You have a desire to strengthen it, create more passion, more love. And some of you might be laughing because maybe you've been in your relationship for like Tony and Sage 20, 22 years, 25 years. And so for myself, we're all at different places, but one of the most important bonuses that he wants to give you guys is a relationship program that he has co-created with Sage. And it's really about creating lasting and passionate love. Something he says all the time is you don't just stumble into love like that. It's something that you create. Love wakes you up to the gift of life. How do you become present to your partner's deepest needs? When the outside world is so crazy, like especially right now in life, sometimes what gets even crazier is our relationships behind the front door of our own home. Who's ever been there before? By a show of hands, give me a head nod. So you need to keep passion, chemistry, and especially polarity ignited. So he wants to give you guys the relationship bonus, and that is $249 of value, just as a bonus for all of you. And then the third one, he says he wants to make it as irresistible as possible, so you absolutely are able to have this experience. The final bonus is $1,500 of value, again, just for all of you guys. And it is the 3 30-minute coaching sessions with the best coaches in the world. The people that have trained and been studied under Tony, hand-selected by Tony, have gone through thousands of hours of training and help you keep your momentum that not only you've learned here, but to implement it into your life, what you're going to learn at Date with Destiny. So it's not something that you just experience. It's something that integrates inside of you. So this is everything right now. I just want to do a gut check reaction. Who here is like, I am all in? I'm going to Date with Destiny. These bonuses, this time, this moment, right now, right? So the total value of this entire package, some of you mathematicians have already done this. This is $10,239. If you talk to Verity, if you talk to myself, Date with Destiny is so unbelievably transformative for me. I would have paid double, triple, 4 times that price. But just as $10,000, think about what you paid for college. To work with Tony one-on-one is like $1 million, like hundreds of thousands of dollars as well. Who would be in just right now for Date with Destiny, just like this? It's worth it, right? It's worth it on its own. And Tony being Tony, he wants to make this so irresistible that your jaw's on the floor and you can't not go, okay? So that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm just curious, what if we said it was going to be like over 50% off? Would that be something you would be interested in today? Completely irresistible, okay? I'm telling you. Only for you at this event. I promise you. Don't come find me after. It is for you at the celebration to celebrate the beautiful 5-year anniversary. This is going to be $4,995. That is over 50% savings for Date with Destiny. We are so excited to have you guys there. But just to take it one step further, if you're all in, put all in inside the chat box. But to take it one step further, we want to make it available to every single one of you, no matter what is going on in your life. So if right now $4,995 is like a lot all at once, even though we can get resourceful, we just want to make it doable. So what if we said you could do it in 3 payments? I'm just curious, would that be something that you'd want to do? Would you want to do it in 3 payments? Okay. I know a lot of you that have been in our world for a while. If you are graduates of our programs, you know that we just don't do that. We don't do payment plans. So I've never seen us do this ever. But you guys can be attending Date with Destiny for just $1,832 down. So that is really incredible. In the deepest place of my heart, I cannot wait to see you guys there. And there's this quote that I learned from Tony. I want to share it with you guys. He says, never leave the scene of a decision while you're in this state without making a decision that guarantees your result. So you want to guarantee your result today. You can go to datewithdestinyvirtual.com, dwdvirtual.com. It's super simple. There's going to be 2 buttons for you. And hear me when I say this. If you're ready to buy, if you are like me and you are like, I am all in, I'm going to Date with Destiny, I will be with Tony Robbins and have this transformation for 6 days, you're going to click ready to buy. Now, if you have any questions, like even one question, if there's a question on your mind, then I want you to click the button that says talk to somebody. You can talk to someone in our virtual booth on our team. Our team is standing by to answer any single question that you have, to support you, to help you, and to help you on your journey to Date with Destiny. So remember, you guys, this is an event only for all of you. This pricing, this package, you're never going to see it again. And we want you to have that experience. So dwdvirtual.com. And ladies and gentlemen, you have a date with Destiny. Let's give it up for every single person here. We love you guys. I think we have a special guest that might want to come back, everybody. It's Mr. Tony Robbins.
You stay right here just for 1 second. I forgot to mention something that I think you find really useful for some of you out there. I look forward to seeing you many there, but I want you to know, with all the people out there that are so depressed right now, the numbers have gone through the roof. Suicides are through the roof around the world. And, there's been a lot of approaches to this, and a lot of people try to deal with it traditionally with psychological treatment in terms of depression drugs, antidepressant drugs, obviously Prozac, Zoloft, and so forth, and then also therapy. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the studies show that less than 50%, JAMA shows one at 40% of the people actually get better through that approach, which means 50 to 60% don't get better. And about 50% of the people that actually improve, they usually improve on average 50%, which means they're half as depressed, which to me falls far short of what human beings deserve. And so that's the literature. That's how it's shown to be. And now some people really get better, some very little, but the average is 50%. And so, for years I've worked with people who are depressed, turning them around, obviously, and suicides is one of the things I've turned around. And a lot of people know about it. So I was just recently approached by Stanford University and Stanford Medical School. They came and said, listen, we'd love to look at your approach because more people are depressed than ever before. And we'd love to see if we could help turn this around. So sure enough, they came and they took a group of people, 45 people that were clinically depressed. 19% of them are having daily suicidal thoughts. And they decided what they would do is follow them through Date with Destiny. And then they did a control group as well. And the control group was doing a psychological tool from positive psychology that's used called positive journaling. And here's what's interesting. If only 40-50% of people find any improvement normally, there was a breakthrough that came out 2 years ago that was promoted in John Hopkins did it, but it was in JAMA, the Journal of American Medical Association Psychological Department. And they did a study that was a breakthrough in depression. You may have heard about this 2 years ago. And for the first time, they took a group of people, 45, if I remember the numbers right. And what they did is they gave them 30 days of therapy with a psychedelic that is called psilocybin. It's basically magic mushrooms. And 30 days of this with these sessions of magic mushrooms, I think it was 2 sessions with that, and then cognitive therapy, a form of therapy. 30 days after this 30 days of treatment, it was the greatest breakthrough literally in the history of depression work. 53% of the people were no longer depressed 30 days later. They were literally depression free. Never happened in history. You'll see on the screen now, say Dr. Alan Davis, PhD, who helped study that for John Hopkins. He said it was a 4 times larger reaction in their clinical trials than any form of traditional antidepressant works on the market. So that was the standard. So the people said, we'd like to do our study just like that, but with no drugs, with people going to Date with Destiny. And I'm really proud to tell you, if you're wondering, does this stuff really have any impact or not? Here's what they discovered. In our group, 30 days afterwards, 100% of the people were no longer depressed. Not one person was still depressed 30 days later. So it never happened anything. There were no drugs involved. It was 6 days, not a month. And of the 19% of the people that had daily suicidal thoughts, none had suicidal thoughts after this experience. So they were so impressed by this that they decided to check out our Unleash the Power Within event. And they measure my body, what's going on, and they measure the audience. They see the physiological changes. And 30 days later, as you'll see on the screen, something amazing happened. 50% improvement in positive emotions, 70% decrease in negative emotions, more than anything they'd ever seen 30 days later. And of course, they had a control group as well that didn't produce results anywhere near like that. They were teaching my actual content, but they were doing it in a standard way by a Stanford professor who's brilliant. He's won all kinds of awards for 15 years. So then they decided they would do something even more interesting. They decided to see, will this work virtually? So we did our first virtual event, UPW, Unleash the Power Within, last July. And we had people from 195 countries, to give you an idea, all over the world, all together. And they measured my body, and they measured people in all these major countries around the world. And we all biochemically did the same thing, which means there's something that is taught by professional, sports psychologists, which is there's a ratio where they can measure your amount of testosterone versus cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. And the champions, their testosterone goes up, so they push through their limits, and their cortisol goes down, so they have less stress. It's called the championship formula. That goes in my body for the full 4 days. But what's amazing is all around the world, they saw this exact same pattern in people because they did their blood and they did their hormones, their saliva, and so forth. So then they followed up 11 months later, during the middle of COVID. They only made 11 months because people started to open up some parts of the world. And I'm really proud to tell you that the same numbers held up a year later, 11 months later. People still had their positive emotion through the roof, their negative through the bottom, right? And so I just want you to know, if you're wondering if this works, it fucking works. It's something that can turn anybody around. And I hope if you have somebody you care about that's really depressed or suicidal, you certainly don't need to go to Date with Destiny. Some of the most successful people on earth go there, some of the greatest athletes, business people. But I want you to know if there's somebody you're worried about, send them to me and I'll take great care of them for you. Okay, guys? All right, I'll give it back for the wrap up for your prizes. Great seeing you all. God bless.
Thank you, Tony.
Oh.
Hey, everybody.
I know I told you that. We're putting up a website with all the science of this, and we'll send it out to you if you're on this list the next week. So look for it, and you can look it up for yourself. And if you want to share it with somebody who needs help, you can. God bless.
Let's give it up for Mr. Tony Robbins, everyone. Whoa, yes. So I hope you guys can feel the power of Date with Destiny. This isn't just a 6-day event that Tony does. This is his entire heart. I don't know, did anyone just feel that when he was going through? He was so excited. We actually were talking about maybe wanting to share that with you guys. And he was like, I'm going to go back up and do it. And it's his entire heart and soul. This mission that he is on, Date with Destiny, isn't just a 6 days. It's something so transformative that it does something inside of your nervous system. And that's why we're so passionate about it. That's why we wanted to celebrate this today. And that's why I wanted to bring this to you guys. We really, really are committed to you having this experience of knowing your destiny and coming home to yourself in that capacity. So I hope you've enjoyed that. We have some prizes. We're giving away Fiji. We have a lot going on right now. So are you ready? Okay. Now, I know some of you are new to our world, but when I ask you, are you ready? That's when you have to become the commander of your life and sit up in your chairs with energy and shout and look into the screen, even if you're on YouTube. So let me ask you one more time. Are you ready? So our first prize is a membership to Tony Robbins Inner Circle. If you don't know what that is, it is one of the most phenomenal ways to train with Tony in an intimate capacity. There's 8 training programs that are unlocked for you on Tony's app. You have monthly coaching with one of Tony's results coach. You have a private community of people that are just like all of you, committed. I see some of you cheering. You must be in Inner Circle. Welcome, our family here. And then you guys also are trained live by Tony 3 times a year, which you cannot get anywhere else, period. We just did it a couple weeks ago. It was phenomenal. So the winner of that is somebody that really played full out, did a watch party, completed the quiz. And this person is, are you ready? Come on, you know the drill. When I ask you, are you ready? I said, are you ready? The winner is Yamil McBride. There she is. Hi, Yamil. And you've got your baby. Oh, congratulations. Congratulations. Whoa, yes. All right, enjoy that. We hope to see you and your baby and your partner, whoever this is with you guys, at Date with Destiny as well. So exciting. Congrats. And then we have a grand prize. Do you know what the other prize is? It starts with an F, ends with an I. Fiji! So, before I share this prize, I want to remind you guys, why is Fiji so special? What event, pop quiz, what event was created in Fiji? Put it in the chat box. It's an event called Date with Destiny, created in Fiji by Tony for himself. And now it's the event that people get to experience around the world, which is why it was so important that our grand prize was giving someone an experience of Fiji. And also remember, when you guys are the creators of your life, when you're in tune with your destiny, you don't have to win Fiji. You can create Fiji. So that's what we want for all of you here today. But our second grand prize winner is somebody that played completely full out with their watch party. They've given it their all. They've demonstrated their creativity, which you guys will see, their heart, their spirit, and their soul. The person that is winning a trip to Tony's Resort, Namali, in Fiji, is all the way from Australia.